Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting on your Monday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. Last couple of weeks, you got to see the variety of different tracks, but tonight, we test the skills of road course racing at the Classic Swiss 200 at Road America, a track that's got plenty of history through here at the ISRC Truck Series. Has been ran twice before, back in Season 3 and back in Season 5, both in the playoffs. But for this season, we race it in the regular season for race number 4. Thank you again for joining with us here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're proud to give you all the coverage. And just like that, drivers are getting their last little bit of practice in of seeing the limits that these trucks can take here, going left and right. But tonight again, my name is Sam Dyer. With me of the booth is going to be Zach Hall. And Zach, some drivers having some fun before qualifying starts. But this racetrack, the history from playoff racing, where it's so intense, to now just regular season racing. Curious on how the mentality could be changing up here this evening.
That's very true, Sam. You know, we look back all the way to Season 5 for the last time we ran here at Road America. And, you know, one of the classic road courses of the North Americas. So it's definitely up there for, you know, all-time favorites for a lot of people. I know myself really love this technical, long, 4-mile in distance course that we have here in Road America. It's very, very technical. The middle sector, especially through Sector 2, you got to be so good through those hairpins, those 90-degree corners. And then also, more importantly, you got to know how to really save the tire. So it's going to be fun to watch how these drivers take on this course here. We're getting a little demonstration of how to take the grass in reverse here, Sam. This is a different line. I haven't seen this one work yet, but I tell you what, Eric Stamp's going to have it nailed.
Eric Stamp really is trying to find that extra speed, if possible, for himself here tonight. I know his teammate Trenton Jump is enjoying it as he's top of the board currently with practice. As a few of other drivers, they're actually trying to get practice, getting prepared for tonight's race, because it is going to be a tough one. Tonight's course, 14 corners in total, 4 miles in distance, and a track that we've seen some big wrecks, calamity, frustrations mount up, but also we've seen that the drivers that get the pole have the worst luck for races. And one driver of note, Nick Crawford, I know he's had the worst luck, but he's had some of the fastest vehicles whenever we come to this racetrack, Zach. And I feel like Crawford, he wants some redemption at this course. Trenton Jump, who got the pole last time we ran here, he didn't win. He wants redemption, of course, for himself. A couple of those drivers, they're fast, but yet to win are the drivers in our top 3 currently in practice.
That's for sure. This is a big opportunity for a lot of these drivers coming into tonight with, you know, past history. Like you spoke of Nick Crawford. I mean, this is the one that gets away from him, it seems like, every time. Has had dominant performance years time after time, and has always had something come up to ruin his races. Usually some type of a disconnect, and I'm really hoping tonight that is not the case, and he can go out there and do what he's done really well. And you know, it's great. We've seen him and Trenton Jump, the top 2 on the leaderboard, have great road course battles throughout the seasons. I think it could be charging up to be another one of those. It's going to be very, very interesting, too, when it comes to strategy as everybody's testing these outer walls.
There's the kink. We've seen similar wrecks like that during the race. Again, testing the limits here late as practice has come to a conclusion. Other drivers just saying, you know what, let's just dump it into the wall, as this might be one of your final times to have some fun. Take your wrecks as you can take them now, because you're heading into qualifying, where these drivers are going to have 10 minutes to try to put down their fastest lap. Only 2 laps will be given out, and you see the grass. You're going to see drivers trying to not touch the grass at all. And Zach, there's plenty of other places that you do not want to touch, otherwise your lap could be invalidated.
That's right, Sam. If you go off track here, use a little too much runoff curb, use a little bit too much inside curb and get into that grass, you're going to quickly get what we call an off-track incident here in iRacing. As soon as you have that happen, it's going to flag the system, and that lap will be invalidated. So you can't have no off-tracks here. You also can't touch any walls. You make any 0x contacts, anything more, such as a spin out, that lap is invalidated. So you have to be pixel perfect around this 4-mile racetrack and really find the way to navigate it quickly. And it's always interesting to see the differences here, especially as we start qualifying a 10-minute session, the outlaps for drivers. Who wants to build heat? Who wants to save the energy of the tires? Because again, a 4-mile course in length, it is such a long lap that you actually begin to overheat the tires about halfway through the lap. So a lot of drivers will take the approach of a very slow out lap, try not to really build too much heat, while others feel like they want to get the heat in the brakes and in the tires to find the grip.
And also, you might be seeing drivers on this warm up time potentially also purposely go into the grass to try to cool off those tires. We're seeing that in sports racing here on iRacing of drivers trying to find little small ways to make sure those tires are cool for the initial qualifying lap. As we enter into tonight, we've had 3 different pole sitters this season. We saw Larry Yingling get his first pole back at Daytona, and then we've also seen Mark Whitley, Vincent Sora grab poles the last 2 weeks. But tonight, could be seeing our 4th different pole sitter of the season with the speed of Nick Crawford, Trenton Jump. They're going to be trying their best to get top of the board as see Ollie Fonseca go a little bit wide. Again, this is their warm-up lap that most of these drivers are on, getting ready for their official lap that they're going to be setting. The first driver that's going to be setting the lap is going to be the 16 of Joshua Kanata. The rest of the field will be trying to see what speed the 16 will set for everyone else. Again, Zach, the fun of qualifying, it's going to be important, as well as the drivers knowing that this start of the race, stage break at the end of lap 10 for this 35 lap race.
That stage break will come up very quickly, approaching at the beginning of the race, and you really have to nail qualifying if you want to have opportunity to that. So that's why qualifying is so important. Also at road courses, more than likely, unless something catastrophic happens, we will not be seeing a yellow flag to bring this field back together, even at the stage break. So it is one of those situations where if you put yourself in a, outside of a top 10 position and you feel like you can battle for the win, that kind of takes away your opportunity. So we'll have to see which drivers make the most of this qualifying session and which drivers just do not find that grip that they're looking for to put down a lap. But a lot of heavy hitters coming across the line just now to start the laps. We're riding on board with Ollie Fonseca as he heads down to turn number 1. You're going to hard brake all the way down from 4th gear into 2nd into this right-hander here. Very easy to lose the rear there as you see Fonseca fighting it now down to the downhill turn number 2 here. You're going to go from 3rd down into 2nd and try to get the best drive out of this corner because this straightaway super long for that very, very tight hairpin coming up to the left hand.
This is going to be one of your major spots that you're looking for big speed. The draft's going to set up once we go to race trim, and the driver's going to see their very first opportunity, a big pass moment going down into turn number 5 as the drivers you see with the revs shifting down, trying to hit your marks, and then they get back up to speed, climbing up the hill. And that's another thing that's fun about this track is the verticality that these drivers deal with, the fact that they go up and down through the course, trying to find that speed, and also gravity helping with slowing down at moments.
It does. When you're going uphill, it's definitely a help for slowing the truck down. When you're going downhill in the braking zone, it not only can make it a little tougher to brake sometimes, but it also will cause the truck to load up more. And what I mean by that is when you go down a hill, the force of gravity will shove that truck into the racetrack, so you actually can brake a little harder. Where it's the opposite, going uphill, you're going to have that truck start to lift, and as soon as you start to hit that brake, it's going to want to really lock those tires. So it's going to be interesting to see who can navigate this well. But we got Larry Yingling here trying to put his lap in. He's flirting with disaster there with hitting that dirt, but you can cut that curb enough where you're not going to get off track here. And right there, that's one of the most technical corners, guys. You're going to see a lot of people have issues through the Corvette corner. That's what I like to call it because it's got the giant Corvette sign above it. But that corner is very technical and tight left-hander.
As they do the downhill climb is the 67 as Yingling's getting ready for the carousel, the long sweeping right-hander, a spot that you rarely see passes, but sometimes you can see too wide action between drivers. If you can keep it together, as Larry Yingling's keeping it neat and tidy, now getting ready for the kink, another very dangerous spot of the course. You'll find yourself going a little bit over, and that seems to be that spot right there, Larry, you just passed, is one of the more dangerous spots of the track.
No doubt. You will ruin your race if you wreck there. It is so high speed and so low grip that all it takes is one slip up and you will immediately be in the barriers. We've seen in the past. I look back to Cedric Hunter. He had a possible opportunity to even win the race last time when we were here at Road America, running very, very strong. Wrecks that car there and then just doesn't end up finishing the race, where Nick Crawford at that point was the leader, disconnects. So you got to make sure you're on top of things there. Such a high-speed corner. Walls are looming close. It can make things very, very tricky. But right now, it's no surprise. Nick Crawford, Trenton Jump, topping the board, Sam.
And Nick Crawford with his qualifying time of 2 minutes 12 seconds .395 would be the fastest lap of either session from practice to qualifying. And 74 will very much enjoy that lap for himself. Other drivers trying a second lap attempt, while Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley, they both have called it quits. They're sticking with their lap times, and it's enabled some other drivers to split, as Thomas Green wanting redemption after missing out on the victory last week at Iowa. Our Iowa dominator, he will finish out here in third with qualifying so far. He'll go for a second attempt, as a couple of drivers getting a chance for their debut race. Here's gonna be Brayton Lester's in the 31, who's gonna lose it as he exits out of corner number 6, and one of those tough spots we talked about, but having a debut race is that 31 machine. Excited to see Brayton out on track, and a road course racing is going to be tough for the 31 machine. Can't wait for oval racing, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Definitely a tough place to start off your debut here at ISRC, because ISRC has no slouches when it comes to these road courses. You got to be on top of your game, nailing each and every lap if you want to have an opportunity to go up here and fight for victories. So, really, really good job by everybody right now putting the laps down. But I'm most impressed, like you were talking about, Thomas Green putting himself third on the board. That is a great pickup from practice. And Nick Crawford, of course, almost 3/10 of a second, or really 3 full tenths of a second above Trenton Jump with that lap. That was as good as the 74 really could ask for.
He really was, but overheating the tires, was trying to get a little bit of extra speed on his final lap, and kind of went over the line at moments. As for Nick Crawford, his second lap, just because of the amount of pace and also tire wear on top of heat, was almost a second slower than his first lap, just showing how quickly these tires could fall away from your first lap to your second. It's Tyler Dangler, one of the drivers who's getting done with his laps, and he'll just ship it into the outside wall as he crosses the line. The 19 open for a decent run. I know didn't get a lot of qualifying. Didn't get a lot of practice in, so it will start 20th. Currently, a driver that will start at the end of the line after an ARCA brake penalty coming off of Iowa. Daniel Garcia trying to get a little bit of qualifying in, at least get some practice on course. Now, qualifying when you have a penalty enables you to get a better pit box further up in the field if you qualify well, but you will be sent to the end of the line. So the 50 machine, this is just for your pit box, not for where you will truly be qualifying.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the 50, gonna try to get a better pit box out of this, and shouldn't be too much of an issue. But this race, when it drops to the green flag, is going to be very, very interesting when it comes down to how you want to play the race. We'll just have to see how the opening laps unfold. But again, so long in distance, this track is really critical when it comes to tire wear. You're going to see tons of fall off. We're on a pole position right now at 2:12.395. I'd imagine about 4 or 5, maybe 6, 7 laps into the run, you're going to see 2:15s, 2:16s, 2:17s as the lap times really start to fall away. That's one big difference you're going to see on here on Monday nights compared to where we have the next gen car on some of our other nights. You won't see that drop off. You'll sometimes even see them get quicker in the next gen cars. The tires really start to heat up and find their new life. But in this truck, your fastest time comes off that drop of the green flag, and then from there, it's all about who can manage it and keep those tires under control.
Keep themselves out of trouble. It's going to be the key factor for Tenino. Fan favorite for the first 2 weeks. Missed out on last week. Joshua Stovall, he will be currently 21st on the board. Simon Garcia getting a little bit of practice of getting into pit road. That's also going to be a big factor that you want to practice on, as drivers are getting finished up with qualifying, about to be entering into their warm-up session, where drivers will have 5 minutes of just one lap, maybe 2 if they're lucky, of last practice before we get to the race. Again, tonight's race going to be 35 laps in distance. Stage break at the end of lap 10, but it will not throw out a yellow. We will stay green unless there is a full on-track blockage wreck, that then the admins would be forced to throw a yellow. Highly unlikely that's going to happen, but for tonight, drivers are going to have 31 drivers registered for this evening. We get ready for our warm-ups. Again, 5 minutes in total. It also gives us time to take a look at some of the points, also the schedule, how it's been looking so far this season, as we head into the points standings and take a look at it. Again, a rule that we brought that was changed coming into this season: top 12 make it in based off of points, and if you're outside of the top 12 and you have a win, you get to be that extra driver into the playoffs inside of our top 20. So a lot of drivers that are inside of our top 20 recognize a win would be crucial to make the playoffs, but otherwise everyone's thinking about points. And currently your cutoff drivers are drivers that were racing for championships. It's Trenton Jump, Nick Crawford, 12th and 13th.
That's crazy to say. Even Danny Cochran right there too, not too far above another champion here at ISRC in 11th. So this is going to be a strong playoff group. And the way they also got to build out with the wild card system, it's going to be very interesting to see if we end up having more than 12, drivers that make it. So it's going to be very interesting right now. Presley Sora, of course, leading the points after his win last week at Iowa. It's going to be quite the show in here tonight because Road America, completely different than anything we've seen so far. It's a time where some of these drivers can make up some deficits and build some deficits too.
It certainly is. And one driver that's inside of our top 12 that will fall out as he was running just a part-time schedule, that's Shane Terrian, who doesn't look to be showing up here tonight. He was obligated. He said that he was most likely going to try to run the first 4 races, and then after that he had outside obligations that he was going to go do instead. So that leaves it wide open for the likes of Nick Crawford, Justin Campbell, Michael Miller, and some of the other drivers deeper in the field to have a good points run. They could be that 12th driver in after tonight. As we move away from our points, and we take a look at our schedule so far this season. Tonight, we'll finish out our first 4 races of the season. We will have a break next week as the drivers will not be running on a holiday, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks as we enter to Dover, a returning race that we've seen calamity strike. Some drivers get their first ever ISRC wins. Then they had a Michigan, Gateway, and we're right back to another road course at Canadian Tire in September. So this is next upcoming month. It is still a wide range of variety of racetracks that we're heading towards.
And that it is, Sam. It's like someone hit the random button and it just said variety. We're going to give you different tracks all over the place. You're going to have Road America, of course, here tonight. But like you said, with Canadian Tire, with only 3 races in between it in Road America, you're going to have to carry over a little bit what you learn here tonight, hopefully to that Canadian Tire Motorsports track, because that is a fantastic road course. And of course, we see the rest of the schedule. It is going to be quite the ending to the season. Even got Sonoma in those playoffs. So road course racing, a big feature here.
It certainly is, as that will be your conclusion of the points and schedule so far. And as we are less than 2 minutes left in warm-up, this is our usual time to have our pick'ems, who are drivers that we think are going to be drivers to win or look out for this evening. And we're going to change it up a little bit. We're actually going to start with you, Zach. Who is your driver that you think to watch out for or could be a driver to win?
Now, Sam, I'm crossing my fingers. Everybody out there, we need to build some good energy and vibes for this pick, because I'm going with the 74 Nick Crawford. Dominant driver here each and every time we've come here at ISRC to Road America. Has not yet to get it done. It's been some type of issue, and that's why I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping to give him no bad juju, give him all good vibes, because I want to see him complete a race here and finally take home a checkered flag.
With some of the bad luck that's been thrown out there, I didn't want the pressure on me, so I said randomize it for myself as well. I asked my producer, Robert Moyer Jr., to give me a random driver. Let's see who my random pick for tonight to watch out for, and it's the driver that won here back in Season 5, Christopher Norris. Norris looks strong. He looks to be a threat here tonight, and it could come down to strategy. The 38 might be into victory lane. I think. Thank you, Robert, for giving me the easy pick there, as we'll go to Robert on who his pick is, our third in the booth, as he will go with Trenton Jump, driver that got the pull here back in Season 5, wanting some redemption himself to get into victory lane for the first time this season. I liked our 3 picks, Zach. I think they're so solid, and there are traditional road course phenoms that are always up front.
Those, I mean, you couldn't go wrong with those 3 picks, in my opinion, because, I wouldn't doubt it if that might be our top 3, when the night ends. I definitely have them kind of as my 3 favorites, but there's drivers that are mixed in there too, such as a Mark Whitley, who's came back this season. Thomas Green really surprised me here in qualifying. Ryan Burr, we know, is actually a really good road course racer. John Forbes, of course, great. And then Vincent Sora, we'll have to see if he can find some speed, because, previously he was the guy who's been challenging Nick Crawford last season at the road courses. This, so far tonight, hasn't found the speed he's wanted.
A lot of drivers keep our eyes out on 4 with 4 miles in distance. Tonight's race Could be a long one. 35 laps in total. Stage break at the end of lap 10. No fast repairs. Forks just sets the tires in pit road. Is it the one stop or is it the two stop strategy that's going to get you into victory lane? That's going to be the big question of the evening. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining with us here tonight. It's going to be a fun one. 31 drivers registered up for tonight's race. Let's see where our 31 drivers are starting here tonight. Top of the board, it's the two top drivers we've talked about. It's Nick Crawford taking the pole, and Trent Jump going to be starting to his outside in the 46 machine. Third place, shocker. When you look at the numbers, Thomas Green will be starting in third place. Fourth is Mark Whitley, kind of an underdog, under the radar road course driver. He'll start fourth. Christopher Norris going to be starting in fifth position. Sixth will be Ryan Bird. John Forbes will be starting in seventh. Vincent Sora, another very strong road course driver, will be starting in eighth. Logan Brakey, he's also another under the radar good road course racer, will start ninth. And finishing out our top 10, it's the 13, Cedric Hunter.
Past winner back here in 11th of Isaac Shelley at the Sonoma Speed Raceway. So another great road course driver alongside him, another past road course winner in the 25 and 12th. That's Cody Reed. 13th position qualifying is going to go to the 17 of Mason Cassidy, with last week's winner in the 12 starting 14th of Presley Sora. 15th is going to be the 67 of Larry Yingling. Alongside him in 16th is going to be Joshua Kanata. 17th in qualifying is going to be Malik Kuntz. 18th is going to go to the 9 of Justin Campbell. 19th is going to be the 24 of Ali Fonseca. And rounding out our top 20 is the 19 of Tyler Dinger.
In the brown machine, it's 21st positions, the 42 of Joshua Stovall. Then in 22nd positions, the 10 of Jared Talmadge. Kind of shocked with how far back he was in 22nd. 23rd is the 8 of Mark Morales Jr. Dakota Moniz in 24th. In 25th, we find the 99 of Michael Miller, just outside of our points cutoff. He needs a good night. Stephen McComas is going to be in 26 with Aaron Kralik in the 01 in 27th. 28th is where Samuel Garcia qualified, but he will start at the tail end of the field with a ARCA brake penalty. Justin Smith will start all the way down in 29th. 30th is debut driver Brayton Lester, and finishing all the way down in 31st position, it's the 53 of Eric Stamp. Saw there, final four drivers not putting down a time with either troubles of invalidated lap times or just making the hard decision of let's just start in the back. And we've seen those decisions be made as the driver's gonna have a long pace lap as they'll pace around the whole entire course. But Zach, the decision of not starting up front, it's more of a let's just survive mindset, I think, for a lot of those drivers further on back.
No doubt. Yeah, I think a few of them out back, they're just saying, I just want to keep it on the road. And that's one thing I always give advice. Well, you know, as myself, I feel like I'm one of the more well-versed guys in road course racing when it comes to these stock cars. I've always given the advice, man, if you don't feel confident coming into a race like this, just go out there and keep it on the course. You know, there's nothing worse than really just trying to go out there, find more speed, make a mistake, and make your night worse. A lot of people are going to have issues. A lot of people are going to have troubles. So you got to pick up those pieces and take what people give to you. So I've always felt like at this track, or you know, the road courses, you just got to find that rhythm, stay out of trouble, and you'll bring home a decent finish, so to say. So it's definitely one of those places where just because you don't have speed, you can still bring home a finish better than you were expecting due to just keeping it on course and nice and clean. So we'll see who can do that. But 4 miles for this pace lap, Sam, this is very interesting too, because with the strategy that could be played here tonight, it's on the edge of being a two-stopper, one-stopper. We look at season 5, Christopher Norris won it on the one-stop strategy, but with a full pace lap like this, that's adding, you know, mileage to the distance here. This is going to make it tough for these drivers to try to make that one-stop happen, but I won't be surprised if we see a few try.
Absolutely not. And as we're pacing, let's see if we can talk to our pole sitter in the 74 machine. Let's see if we can queue up Nick Crawford. Nick, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. I know you're pacing. You grabbed the pole. How are you feeling here tonight with that pole position?
It's really nice. It's nice to be fast. I like road courses. Honestly, I'm just hoping at least I make it to the stage to get some points, and then whatever disconnect happens after that, it can do whatever, just as long as I get some points.
Well, Nick, we got our fingers crossed for you for sure up here in the booth. You know, I had to pick you because I just know how dominant you've been here. There's not going to be no disconnects tonight. We're not worrying about that. What do you think is going to be the most critical thing, though, for this race to go get that checker flag?
I think it's saving the rear tires. Asking you earlier, you said left rear is really important, so I think that's going to be a big thing to focus on, and just keeping it on track really, and then making it to the pit stop. That's going to be the most important part. There's a lot of turns here and a lot of places you can go off, and it's not very wide runoff in some places, so you could really end your race pretty much anywhere.
You certainly can. Well, Nick, I know we're starting to get to the end of this course. We'll send you back to your team, and good luck for this restart and for the rest of the race.
Thanks, guys. Hopefully I'm talking to you at the end.
Hope so as well. That's going to be your Snowy Desert Racing driver of Nick Crawford. And Zach, I mean, Nick, once again, making the jokes that we all know. The last 2 times we've ran here, he has disconnected between laps 15 to 20. And he's usually been up front or moving to the lead position when that happens. And I know a lot of worry has been kind of talked about and joking about it throughout most of the field of, could Nick Crawford even make to the end of this race? That's got to be such a worrisome omen over your head, knowing it's happened twice. Will it happen for a 3rd time?
That's for sure, Sam. You know, that when you have those past demons, so to say, on your mind, it can kind of mess you up a little bit. But I have a good feeling tonight. I think we're not going to see those issues pop up. Cross my fingers again for him, because it has been tough to see in the past.
It certainly has been tough. We'll see if tonight's the night for Nick Crawford, or could someone else find themselves into victory lane. We've had 3 different winners this season. Could we have number 4 here tonight? Pace cars into pit road. The field climbs to the top of the hill, and it is time for us to go racing road course style for the classic Swiss 200 at Road America. As the field roars down into turn number 1, it's a drag race. It's going to be try and jump Nick Crawford side by side as they head down into turn number 1. Rest of the field's going to have a good lunch. Tyler Dangler, as always, starting pit road. They're trying to give space side by side through turn number 1. Then they make the downhill climb to turn 2 and 3, and all looks neat and tidy for now with a little bit of wiggles, but it's Crawford for now ahead.
Crawford here trying to go through turn 2 and make the big lunge, and he does. He's going to clear the 46 at Trenton Jump, who's going to have now the 77 of Mark Whitley on his back bumper, but it looks like Whitley's going to tuck in the toe down the back straightaways. Christopher Norris tries to make the pass on Thomas Green, but Nick Crawford tries to run away.
Have the whole camera at turn 5. We've seen disaster here in turn 1 in the past, but for now our top 10 look clean. A little bit of tire smoke popping up with some lockups up in the middle of the pack, but everyone else neat and tidy, and that's what you love to see at the top of turn 6. Everyone continues to be in line. A couple of still side-by-side racing action, and they got to clean that up quickly because we're starting to get to the more narrow section of this course. But all Nick Crawford, Trenton Jump, and your top about 10 to 12 all in line.
Everybody, like you said, all in line, getting single filed out, but it looks like Kanata's going to have to dip back in there. That was the blue and 16 there right in front of the 17 of Mason Gasly and the green machine. It looks like Justin Campbell back there making some type of battle, looks like with the 17 of Jarrett Talmadge. So everybody trying to single file out before this, but now they're going to run side by side through this carousel, one of the toughest corners of the track before you head to the canyon.
All drivers looking pretty stout. One driver with a big loss. It's going to be Justin Smith having some slight troubles, and one driver goes off. It's going to be Justin Campbell going off course, coming off the kink at turn 11. Able to keep it straight for now as everyone else has already just a full 1 corner in. I mean, one full lap in practically, and the field is spaced out dramatically from first back to 30th. It's already 14-second difference.
That just shows you how long of a line of trucks this is here at Road America. When it's 4 miles long, you can lose a ton of time, and that's why you got to qualify well. You know, you go at 14 seconds, you're not making that up in a full race distance unless you are just, you know, head and shoulders above the field. And I went back and also checked out the incident. It was Justin Campbell, Jarrett Talmadge. We saw them side by side through the carousel. Well, coming out of that carousel, the 17 and the 9 actually was some contact. The 10 and the 9 making some contact, and most likely actually looked like some net code that spun the 9 off the nose of the 10, and that was a tough break for Campbell, who went all the way back to 26. Talmadge also lost a good bit too. He slid back to 20th.
And for Justin Campbell, loss of 8 positions from where he qualified. Tough start for himself. Some of the drivers, though, that are loving the way that they started this race, cracking into the top 10. It's going to be the 12 of Presley Sora, as he's up 4 positions, as well as Christopher Norris, who's up 2 spots, now in 3rd place. As take a look at that battle for 10th place. It's Cedric Hunter and Sora that are going to be right on top of one another, the 12 and the 13, as they go through turn 5 and keeping it close, but also a driver to watch out for. Talked about his pedigree at road course racing. Cody Reed in 12th. He's hounding that Hello Kitty machine.
That is, that 25, so good, especially when it comes to Watkins Glen. and I think he's going to try to channel a bit of that here tonight. But starting back around that 12th position is going to be tough for Reed, but he's one of the better road course racers, like we said. He can definitely make his way forward, as we've seen Presley soar. I mean, from 14th to 10, that is a win in my books for the start of a race. You love making positions like that. As now we jump up here to Ryan Bird in the 7th position, heading down the carousel. Now heading down this little short straightaway, as you see him fighting the rear end there, coming out of the carousel into the kink here, where it's very easy to lose this left rear tire, overheated and get a little bit loose. Flirts with disaster there with that curving.
Our top 7 keeping it pretty close to one another. Everyone pretty equal distance, between anywhere from 2 to 5/10 difference, besides 4th and 5th of Mark Whitley. Mark Whitley and Thomas Green. There's almost a second between them, as in Ryan Bird's hands, trying to hit every mark. Not a lot of counter steer there, just trying to point the nose on where you want it to go, but it just seems like these bricks of a truck struggling to turn through the center. Is the 49 right now.
It is very tough to get these things turned. This is not your next gen Cup Series car. This is a full-blown truck, everybody. It does not have the downforce, and it also just doesn't like getting slowed down. As you go through the downshifts, you can see right there the rear of the 11 just kicking out on the downshifts. That's what we like to call wheel hop. You don't really deal with it too much in the Cup Series car due to having transaxles. It's not a solid rear end. You know, both sides can independently go up and down with the independent rear end. And these trucks, you have a solid full rear axle. It's all stuck together. So if the left tire hops, the right tire hops. And when you downshift, when you get those tires hopping, it's a very scary feeling, because it's almost like you have no control over your car and it just starts to step out on you.
In first true big trouble strikes Cody Reed, losing plenty of time as Ryan Bird, John Force will battle side by side off the exit of turn 5, but Cody Reed, massive loss of positions, over 17, as he found himself with trouble off the exit of turn 3, just snapped loose when he tried to get into the throttle.
That's a very easy thing to do. The left rear tire takes such a hit around this track. We have so many right-hand corners that load up that left rear tire and really just overwork and overheat it. And I did a few laps today just to get a feel for what these drivers are going to be going through. If you went out there and really leaned on that left rear through these right-hand corners, it just compounded itself. It seemed like you lost more and more left rear grip as the run went on, and you just had major trouble. So I don't know if that's a little bit of what Cody ran into there with the drive off, just being gone from the truck and just losing the rear end suddenly. But you have to be very in tune with this truck through those right-handers if you do not want to get loose.
And another driver having troubles at the kink. Trenton Jump getting a little bit of contact to the wall. He's able to continue to drive on, but somehow the most fragile machine out there on iRacing currently is this truck, and Trenton Jump was graced by the iRacing gods and still able to continue to race on.
The wild thing too, like you said, he got into that wall. It was the inside wall, folks, getting loose, and it's really what happens. You see these exit curbs, the yellow and red curbs there. You'll use a ton of that curb, especially on the exit of that kink. Sometimes you dip a little too much off, the truck bottoms out, and you will shoot one direction, whatever way it decides it needs to go. And it looked like it was shooting left for Trenton Jump as he nailed the inside wall. And like you said, very lucky, because really you can't even tell the truck other than a scrape on the door. You can't tell he got into it. So he definitely, got through that as about as lucky as you possibly can. But right now, losing that track position to Christopher Norris and Nick Crawford out front, it's going to be interesting to see how he can try to gain back that time on those two.
More drivers having issues. Larry Yingling, Malik Kuntz, they get involved with one another as they were battling up for the 14th position. Contact Malik locks up his tires, runs into the 67, coming off the last corner. Both going to have a major loss of positions. Malik's trying to defend for 22nd position. Larry Yingling's got space in 20th to continue to race on. But on screen, you're watching the battling going on for 4th place as well for 3rd. It's going to be 4th place runner in the 77 of Mark Whitley, right on the back bumper of Trenton Jump. And Jump, like we talked about strategy, how do you want to save fuel, save your tires? It's going to be a gambling of who's really losing time because of the overheating of their tires and who's statistically or strategizing wise trying to save their equipment for this long run.
That's for sure, Sam. This is an interesting phase right now, and the lap times I'm seeing, the best of a lap we've seen so far is from Nick Crawford at a 2:13.114. That's about 3/4 of a second off our pole position is, Trent Jump has another moment through the kink right here in front of Mark Whitley. He's actually going to be very slow. This gives an opportunity for Whitley to make the move. But like we were talking about with fuel strategy, it's very interesting to see these lap times still up there. I'm wondering if there is any fuel saving going on, because if you know how to do it right, you can save fuel here and still make time. What we call that is lift and coast, folks. You're going to lift earlier than what you normally are on the straightaways before the corner comes up, and you're actually going to brake a little bit later just to make up for the speed of you lifting earlier. But as soon as you lift off that throttle pedal, that's the usage of the fuel going down. So that's why these drivers will probably be lifting a little bit earlier, trying to save that fuel if they want to make the one-stop work. But I think everybody's going for it right now.
Looking back off the 46 Trent Jump, who is honestly in very big trouble right now after just that one slide through turn 2. It has been gradually getting worse and worse on the tires, and Jump's exit of the corners has just been the rear end always kicking out. That is a dangerous feeling that the 46 is dealing with, and with how long he's going to have to be on these tires before that first pit stop, and potentially his first of many, or maybe his last one of the night. You are in such a hurting moment, and this is just helping out the Snow Desert Racing drivers and Nick Crawford and Christopher Norris that will just try to scamper away, even with all those issues.
That's exactly right. Those two out front are loving what they see, especially if they can get Whitley and Jump balanced some more. So that would be huge for those two, as Jump did a good job through the hairpin there to gain a little bit of time back and build a little bit between him and Mark Whitley. But out front, it's definitely smooth sailing from our 74. But the 18, Thomas Green, who had that excellent qualifying run to put himself third on the board, right now he's under threat. You got John Forbes, Ryan Bird here putting this 18 under a ton of pressure. And they've got about a 4-second gap back to Logan braking.
Yeah, who's going to be willing to just give up a spot, or do you fight and defend for every little bit? It's going to be the true question of the evening, as Thomas Green, that great qualifying attempt, being third, has enabled him to be in this 5th place position and able to hold back the likes of John Force, Ryan Bird. Ryan Bird, a driver that we really don't get to talk about a lot. He's been a driver that we've seen always, it feels like every race that he shows up for is going to be a contender for a top 10 run, but curious if a championship is on the mind of the 46 coming into this season, as we know he could be a threat if he finds himself the motivation to be going for this championship.
No, Ryan is definitely one of the underdogs, I'd say, coming into the league, of like, what is his true capabilities this season? We'll have to see what he can do, but of course we've seen some great qualifying runs from him. He's always good on the road courses, we know that, and in my opinion, exceptionally well at the short track. So I think that's really his strengths.
Oh, we'll just trouble. Sorry to cut you off, but it's going to be Joshua Stovall being spun around at the Canadian corner off the nose of Presley Sora as the 42 was trying to make his march forward. It all backfires just in an instant, as here's the moment that happened to the brown machine. Tried to stay low, thought he was clear and was not, and now into the dirt.
Yeah, that's just two drivers going for the same spot as he backs up right there onto the exit curb. That was close for Kralik and Fonseca, who barely navigate by that. But you're going to see here is a big move from Joshua Stovall that's really set him up for this. And she's just going to push a little bit wide here, and the 12 on the inside of them, or on the outside of them, they're just going to collect each other off the nose, and the 42 goes around. So ton loss of time. Back in 25th now is that 42, and he's going to have to try to make that ground back up.
Cody Reed probably with the scariest view of that incident. The 42 of Stovall will fall all the way down to 25th position after battling for 16th. So a race that went from a potential, maybe a chance to fight for your top maybe 12, maybe even for 11th place, now is transformed into let's get at least a top 20 and maybe salvage a top 15 if you can run down the rest of the field. There's more trouble scattering around the 12 machine of Sora, as Jarrett Talmadge is going to be spun around.
Oh man, it's all popping off back here in this mid pack of the field, and yeah, it's looking like Presley's getting to see a good portion of it.
He's just the magnet. He's not the cause. He's just the magnet. It's all the carnage that around him. As another dive bomb move that goes wrong. It's the 10 machine just went for a little bit too much of an aggressive push that goes badly.
You're going to get to see this one pretty well right here. You can see the distance. That's a huge, gap between these two. And the 10's just going to try to outbreak the 12 from that far back, and that's just not going to work, because the 12 is going to close the door, and the 10 is going to be there. So it's going to be two drivers a kid going for the same spot on the racetrack, coming together, as Sora had to take a little bit of an off-road excursion, and Talmadge involved in his second incident of the night here, having to get his truck back going. He's right now 23rd ahead of Stovall, who both were involved at 12.
And just like that, they are back at it. 16th place seems to be the spot to watch out for as we continue to race on. And oh no, it's Michael Miller going off track at Canadian Corner, as the 99 will get back on course, but will lose 3 positions and might be more as they go through Thunder Valley, setting up to go down into the final corner at corner number 14. And the 99 trying to defend and will do so at this moment as other drivers further up ahead go off track. Thomas Green, after trying to hold back John Forbes and Ryan Bird, excuse me. It's Green that's going to go off course at turn number 1. Will lose position, and now that actually gives an opportunity for Ryan Bird to try to battle for 5th place for the 49.
It's a great battle. These two have been kind of glued together for majority of it. And Bird now down the outside here. This is probably not going to be the position he wants to be in, but you can cross somebody up here. If the 11 slides forward, you'll see the 49 try to cross, but he crosses too much as his hands cross up on the exit with that truck stepping out on him. So Bird almost trying to set that crossover move up, but just couldn't get the power in the rear grip and stability to be there to power off that corner to get to the inside of the 11.
Attempting the big move, but the big move just was not there. This is one of your closest battles on track. Everyone else is starting to space out pretty well here at Road America. Other close battles, also the battle for 3rd place, Trenton Jump. Mark Whitley is Jump able to still be in 3rd place. That battle's within a half a second. We were just watching the half a second difference battle for 5th place of Forbes and Bird. Another close battle is for 9th place between Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter, about a half a second difference. One of the closest battles, though, is for 20th, Cody Reed and Sammy Garcia, which Garcia had to start at the end of the line. He currently is trying to get inside of our top 20.
That he is. This is interesting maneuvers for all from some drivers, and the lap times I'm seeing, it's starting to fall off. Right now, a lot of these guys are in the 217, 216 bracket, while a lot of our leaders are flirting with that 214 to 215. So just showing you right here already, about 3 to 4 seconds of fall off from a lot of these drivers as the tires begin to continuously heat up around this 4-mile course here as they come by to complete lap number 7 this time. And it's going to be interesting to see again. Lap 10 is when that stage ends, so points will be awarded at the end of that lap. I'm wondering if we'll start to see those drivers that are doing the 2-stop hit around lap 12 to 13 and try to get that first stop in a little bit early so they can get advantage of the new tires.
As we are currently on lap 8 of 35 at this moment. Nick Crawford is on lap 8. Rest of the field starting lap number 8 for themselves as the 74 continues on, but what a drift, and oh no, complete grips. Up is the 10, almost the grip flip for Jarrett Talmadge, whose night goes from bad to worse. Now outside the top 25, he'll fall down to 27th as Justin Smith tries to rattle up the hill with some speed. And what a moment there. He'll try to drift his way out of that last bend. Instead, will fall now to 28th place as Jarrett Talmadge.
Tough break. And this track's so technical. Looks like he's going to try to outbreak the 6 back down here into 1, and will do that. And there's so many technical bits to the track. You see he's sliding the left rear there. That is a very hot left rear, I can tell you, on that 10 machine. Even down there in the 2, I'm sure he was going to have a big slide. It looks like Shelley and Kanata having somewhat of a battle through the Corvette corner there, and that's a very technical corner in the 71. Now great run here as they head to the infield kink. I like to say a little bit of a opposite in kink in that infield section there, and that corner is very fun to run as you head down into this left-hander before you head to the carousel. So Isaac Shelley putting the pressure on the number 16 Kanata, who has been a little bit on the move from 16th.
Yeah, both these drivers in very similar situations. They're both outside of the top 12 in points. For Shelley, he's been having bad luck. For Kanata, he missed a race. The 16 needs a fantastic run this evening. A top 10, maybe even a top 5 run was the ideal race for Joshua Kanata, who was one of our biggest movers based off of points last week, up 12 spots from where he was. And for Kanata, this is such an important run. Being outside the top 10, this has got to be frustrating, not seeing those bonus points.
Oh, no doubt for sure. And yeah, you want to get those bonus points early in the season so you can try to get yourself closer to that top 12 marker, but have to see how these others can do. And we're looking at now Larry Yingley, who's trying to make somewhat of a rebound, so to say. Remember, he got collision from the 98 of Malik Kuntz, who's ahead of him, who ran in the back of him in this final corner right here, got spun around. Dropped him back to 20th. He's back to 18th now with a few mistakes from others, but he does have the likes of Fonseca and Cody Reed right behind him. And really, in front of them, it's a pretty sizable gap up to Presley Sora.
I was actually re-looking at some of the EOLs that were given out, and some extra drivers were given penalties at the start, the end of the line that I'm kind of shocked by. Eric Rollick went to the end of the line on top of Eric Stamp. Ollie Fonseca, that's not where you want to go. A little bit of road course cut in the corner. Thanks for the mowing the grass there, Ollie. Must have seen a spot that wasn't trimmed down, and luckily didn't take out Larry or Cody with them. Gutsy move that goes poorly, and Ollie Fonseca over the radio just happy that he survived that moment, as we have 2 laps still to go before the stage is over.
That we do, yeah. He's definitely glad to just survived that moment. I think Larry Yingling had a little bit of flashbacks here from seeing the 98 hit him. He had to kind of make sure he wasn't going to get clipped by that 24, so kind of back that corner up. That's going to allow Reed now to his back bumper in the 19th position, and Reed definitely going to be looking to gain some of these spots back. The 25, again, one of the better road course racers here. He's just had that mistake early in the run there at turn number 2, and has been trying to rebound from it ever since, and right now trying to crack his way back into the top 18.
F&G Layer Productions, red and black machine. I'm trying to get on the brakes, and you can just tell from the different zones that drivers are from, the different braking points that drivers have. Cody Reed, part of the drivers are inside of our top 15 in speed. Just outside of our top 15 was Larry Yingling, and you saw Cody a lot more trusting in his brakes, while Larry was willing to back off early, almost causing collision there. And Ollie Fonseca, he's going to be trying once again and attempt to get by the 67 of Yingling as they blitz by the kink. And oh no, trouble! Yingling's going to be pounding into the inside wall, and trouble. He's blocking most of the track. Drivers have to try to get around Yingling.
Oh, tough break for Larry Yingling there as the 24 Fonseca getting super close in the kink there and making the contact. And this is tough. This is the worst spot you don't want to wreck. The 24 took a look, then went down into the corner and just got in the rear there right on the exit, and unfortunately wrecks the 67, who's second time tonight he's been on the unfortunate end of that.
That contact was a hard lick. Luckily, no required damage for Larry Yingling, but a frustrating moment for himself as we are just on the stage lap, and shockingly, Mark Whitley is in pit road. We are not done with the lap. Mark Whitley is giving up stage points to try for a strategy call to win this race.
Very interesting, too, because this is quite the undercut, so to say. I mean, you look at it, you're pitting here on lap 10. Do you plan on pitting, I guess?
This is a 2-stop for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a 2-stop for sure. I mean, you know, I guess you'd imagine again at 20 and just try to take it 15 on the final run. I mean, you can do that easily on fuel, but you know, you're just maybe separating the tire runs just that little bit too much. But we'll see from Whitley what it equates to for him, because right now, definitely the first of our front runners to flinch when it comes to pit road is right now. Actually, Christopher Norris has started to close the gap down a little bit to Nick Crawford. It's about a second between the 2 Snowy Desert Racing trucks, as these 2 look to be very, very strong, and Trent Jump matching their pace about 3 seconds back.
We used to always look at the pace and look at the differences on what drivers' tendencies have been at certain tracks. And Christopher Norris, to look back to that season 5 where he won that race, kind of similar. We were getting to the end of the stage. Norris was catching up to Nick Crawford, who were all catching up to Trenton Jump and Danny Cochran at the time. And it was then the ultimate disconnect from Crawford, but Norris continued his pace, ran down the leaders, and then won the race. So Christopher Norris maybe has found a comfort zone as he's running down, and as the drivers finish this lap, this will be your stage, as Nick Crawford is your stage winner. He ultimately got his goal, which was win the stage, maximize the stage points. Now his hands are up. Can he make it to the end of this race?
I look back to someone like Isaac Shelley, who looks like he's going to come across the line. Hasn't done it yet in 10th, but if he can come across the line in 10th, that'd be a huge goal for him. Is actually, as I say that, Campbell just got an amazing run out into the final corner, but I think Shelley's just going to hold on to that 10th and final spot, and got to give it up to Campbell, too. He dropped back all the way to 26 with that spin from earlier. He's broke his way back into the top 10. He's got some excellent pace almost rivaling our leaders at this point.
Yeah, he's running just as fast as Trenton Jump right now is Justin Campbell. So he would have been instead of our top 8, top 7 of drivers to watch out for if he did not get into that spin. Unfortunate for himself, but here's going to be a rundown of drivers that earn stage bonus points. Nick Crawford will get 10. Trenton Jump gets 9. 8 goes to Thomas Green. Mark Whitley will come away with finishing in 4th at the stage. Excuse me, actually, I'm saying these names wrong. It's Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, Trent Jump, John Force, Ryan Bird, Thomas Green, Logan Brakey, Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, and Isaac Shelley. They'll be your drivers with stage bonus points, as it was at the time of crossing the line for those drivers, as there were a few passes that were made after they had crossed the line, and so our graphic a little bit behind. But ultimately, I mean, Zach, a lot of those drivers kind of expected to be inside of our top 10 on speed. It's just one of those things when you get into a league where the competition level is so equal. Honestly, anyone in our top 15, top 20 could have been in our top 10 based off of the way they were running, but a couple of mistakes, a couple of drivers being instant victims, backfired and sent those back.
Definitely did. Yeah, it was interesting ending there to the stage. Very close for that final 10th position. As you're looking here now, Presley Sora starting to gain back a little bit of time with some of the drivers ahead of him, of Kanata and Mason Cassidy. Is Kanata loose into the kink, and also Presley loose having to try to turn down underneath that 16, and sometimes can make that mistake as he makes that pass clear in the 13th now, as he'll set his sights up to the 17 of Mason Cassidy in that 12th position. But Presley Sora gaining back a little bit of time here, slowly but surely, as these drivers continue on for this run. And it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of the two stoppers are going to be happening here very soonly. And Logan Brakey, actually one of the drivers in the top 10, he hits pit road, so two-stop strategy coming into play here in the next 2 to 3 laps, in my opinion.
As again, are not having the lap counter up. We are on lap 12 of 35 currently. As we're having some slight graphical issues on our end, but again, on lap 12 of 35 currently, as Logan Brakey's now into pit road. It's going to be Nick Crawford, still a little bit less than a second ahead of Christopher Norris as these battles continue on. I think, we talk about some drivers. We know those that are going to be quick at road courses based off of the veterans of the ISRC Truck Series. Presley Sora, one of those that I know how fast he is at oval tracks. This is one of the few times I've actually seen this 12 machine in iRacing as total, because he's been a very well-known iRacing driver doing ARCA currently in real life. It's kind of fun to see what he's going to be doing road course racing-wise, because I've never seen him road course race before.
Yeah, he's a talented, very talented driver. We all know that for sure. Of course, won last week at Iowa in our fog storm there. That was definitely an interesting night, to say the least, and got his win there. I didn't really know what to expect him. I know his brother Vincent very, very well. I've worked with him a lot, especially on the road course stuff. And, I was kind of expecting maybe a little bit more from Presley. But again, a top 12 run here in this league is still very, very strong. These guys know the truck very in and out. And it seems like he's also kind of slowly starting to find a little bit more rhythm. Right now, if he can keep up this pace, he could possibly still go up there, maybe fight for a top 10 before the day's in now.
I mean, I was curious on seeing the way that Presley was moving backwards, if maybe it was a strategy call on how to save fuel, potentially, with the calls that he was making. Here's Presley's brother, Vincent Sora, being challenged by Cedric Hunter, the teammates from that Cochran Sora racing team, as Vincent Sora and Cedric both racing for 7th and 8th position. Currently, both about 4 seconds off of Thomas Green in 6th place, as the field continues to race on. A few drivers having to enter pit road. It's going to be Brayton Lester in the 31. The pizza man going to be having himself troubles where he's going to have extended time in pit road. But as the field continues to race on, Zach, if there is a furthest point that you're looking at for pit stops, what is that number we're looking for some of these drivers, maybe further up ahead or maybe even back in that 10th to 20th position?
Well, if they're looking to do the two-stop, I think 13, right where we're at, is personally getting into a pretty good zone. As you actually see, look at this. I mean, the 38, they're a big slide there, but he's been gaining a lot of time on Crawford there, doing a great job. I would say 13's probably around the range, 14 for a two-stop, what you want to be looking at. I would say if you're going to be on that, you're going to want to come in this lap. If you are trying to do the one-stop, you need to at least, in my opinion, make it to lap 17. If you can make it to 17, you got to do 18 laps on the final run. And the reason why I say 17 on the first, we had a full pace lap around this 4-mile track. That is going to take about half the fuel out that you normally would for a full lap. So you're not, in my opinion, going to be able to stretch it out to 18 probably here. If you're trying to do the one stop, you'd have to go way too slow. So I think if you can get to 17, it definitely gives you an opportunity to try to make 18 laps on that final run for a one-stop strategy. But if you can make it to 18 on this first run, that just puts you in that much of a better situation where you can push that final run and really show your true paces. Like Christopher Norris kind of pushing there and losing the rear end, and now losing a lot of time that he gained on Crawford here, and just showing that it's easy. Even though you're quick and we're looking quicker than the leader, it's easy to make a simple mistake and lose all the time you gained.
Certainly can be very quick on how you can throw this race away. We've seen plenty of drivers have small little incidences that have ruined their race, but here tonight, continue to watch Nick Crawford trying to get redemption here at Road America. He's tried before tonight 2 other times where he's been kind of the top driver and then gets disconnected. Well, we've entered the zone of where he would usually disconnect. From lap 13 to 16 is where the troublesome spots would loom for something just random to pop up. And we continue to try to cross our fingers, but drivers that are up front going for the 2-stop, it's going to be Trenton Jump, one of the first drivers to hit pit road, and this is going to be a good sign. Whereas Mark Whitley loomed with Trenton Jump because they were right on top of one another before Mark Whitley went into pit road. So here's going to be a good guesstimate point for us. We saw in the chat, Brent Lee going to be from Harpoon Designs. That's Mark Whitley's spotter, letting us know that they're going for a kind of Hail Mary call, you could say, on the strategy calls here tonight with that very early stuff.
Definitely going for a little bit of a Hail Mary there, and Whitley does jump Trenton Jump, so it's going to be about 45 seconds the gap when Trenton Jump does finally come out of pit road to our leader of Nicholas Crawford. So that lost him about upwards of 39 seconds with that pit stop. So that's about what the delta is for a pit stop here. So if you can eliminate a pit stop, that's 39 seconds of race time taken off of your time here. This battle has been amazing. As John Forbes, Thomas Green, Brian Bird, that really from third all the way back to fifth here have really not separated themselves much, and they got to get a go on, because Ventus Orr and Cedric Hunter both running some of the quickest times too back in 6th and 7th. This group is only going to grow in size.
We got a couple of big battles mounting up. Thomas Green, John Forbes, that was a good battle to watch as Green is trying his best just to stay attached. Other big messes of groups, and what I call the Hornet's Nest right now is the battling for 12th position. There is a huge gaggle where we find Mark Whitley, where drivers are trying to get through. Some give up pit stops this time or the next, but Mark Whitley and Trent Jump right behind the 77. They're in full bore go mode as they know they've already made their first pit stop. A second will be looming in the next 10 laps or so. And now you got to get through this traffic. This is the worst case scenario if you're Mark Whitley and Jump, is having this group of drivers in front of you.
No doubt. I mean, if anybody's watched Formula One before, what do they talk about all the time when they're pitting is finding a gap on the racetrack to run smooth laps. When you're the 77, you're Trenton Jump here on these fresh tires, you're catching up to this group. Yeah, you'll be able to go past them pretty easily, but you are going to lose critical seconds on those fresh tires that you normally wouldn't have if you had clean track in front of you. So it's very, very important to not get too impatient though here and use up your stuff, because when you're racing somebody, you can kind of stretch out there and try to use a little bit more of your equipment and tires, and it can put you in a worse position. So if you're Mark Whitley, here's the 16 of Kanata losing it, but he might as well come to pit road.
And he will stay out for another lap. Is going to be Joshua Kanata as he watches the group that he was leading all blitz by him. And I was going to say, you said they can pass him pretty easily. I would say if there's a little bit more gaps between each driver, maybe it would be easier. But with how the gaps are looking, if you miss time these passes and moves, you could be running into a driver. Mark Whitley able to get by Mason Cassidy, now setting his sights to Cody Reed, and you can see behind him in the black and teal colored machine, that's the 46 of Trent Jump that just got to the rear bumper of Mason Cassidy as the Go Mason Go machine trying his best to stay attached to the 77, but those little bit of pockets, that's what's going to help these faster drivers get by.
That's for sure, Sam. the gaps does not help these drivers when it comes to making passes. You know, you're going to be stuck behind somebody as soon as you make a pass in the next corner. You see Whitley there just going to miss the corner in front of him with Cody Reed making a mistake. That slows the 77 up. That allows Trent Jump. And look, I mean, you look at the difference that Whitley and Jump had over each other, only about a second or two before pit stops. Now, Trent and Jump, much fresher tires right here already to the back of the 77 of Whitley, and that's mostly come down to the traffic. That's played a factor as Jump not having a fun time right now with the 25 of Reed.
Absolutely not. As Trent and Jump going to be trying to go to the inside. Cody Reed defends and holds it back. They continue to duel. Now going to be side by side, setting it up for the carousel. And Jump's going to have to go the long way around. But luckily, he's got the grip to make this type of a pass work. But Cody Reed pushing the 46 a little bit wide as they continue to drag race off of turn number 10, heading to the kink. You don't want to be side by side here. And Cody Reed luckily backs out. And that's a smart move by the 25.
No doubt smart, because you know Trent Jump on the fresh tires, he can't back out. He backs out of that situation, he just loses all that time that he gained on Whitley. He already lost it from being side by side through the carousel. So you knew he wasn't going to back out. Reed on the older tires makes the smart decision. Just go ahead, let the 46 by and try to live for another day. Is now Whitley trying to set up Malik Kuntz. And again, I mean, look at the lap times, 2:16 from Mark Whitley last time by. That's slower than Nick Crawford's lap time up front, and Crawford still has yet to pit.
To continue to make the charge, it's going to be Malik Kuntz heading into pit road for the 98 machine after all the side-by-side battling, and now is put Mark Whitley and Trent Jump in line with one another. And the few times we've seen these drivers battling with one another, it's always been a joy, but this is one of those times where Mark Whitley, one of the most winningest drivers, one of the most decorated drivers in the ISRC Truck Series. Old tires, going with the very bold strategy of pitting earlier than everyone else. Does he have still enough grip to hold back Trent and Jump? As, again, we still don't have our ticker to tell you what lap we're on. We are currently on lap 16 of 35 here this evening, as well as got an update 31 of Brayton Lester decided to park it, and it will be having pizza and also becoming the race engineer and strategist for Presley Sora. So helping out is Mark Whitley, losing it and just giving Trent Jump the position back.
Tough break there from Whitley. He went for the Hail Mary strategy. We heard about that in chat, and the Hail Mary seems to be backfiring right now with the traffic that held him back as Jump made the clean, nice pass on him and set sail now as Ryan Bird here starting to get a little bit of pressure, because I wouldn't say from John Forbes, I'd say more likely that 15 of Vincent Sora, who's climbing his way through, as it looks like Cedric Hunter and Thomas Green even side by side in the background. So it seems like Hunter and Sora finding some pace here late in the run is through Canada Corner on the outside. Cedric Hunter will go the odd way around and makes it work. Great move from the 13.
On 16 lap old tires, you should not be able to make that pass with Cedric Hunter. Felt like he had the grip, and with all the waiting that they've had so far, a great move by the Hello Kitty machine that's not going to slot himself up into 6th position. Still waiting on the hard decision of the drivers that are currently in our top 10, still waiting to hit pit road. And talk about how the gap kind of builds out. It's around 38 seconds to 40 seconds is the amount of time you're going to lose after making a pit stop. And currently Trent Jump, Mark Whitley, they've done a decent job of trying to run down our leader, almost down to 40 seconds being the difference between Trent Jump to Nick Crawford.
That delta I measured out is going to be around 39 to 40 seconds when our leaders pit. So if Whitley can get below that 40-second delta on the difference to our leaders, Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris will come out behind them, and that's going to set them up for an interesting situation. But the one thing I will say, with it being lap 17 of 35, I think you're going to see pit road very busy this time around. If you can go an extra time around, that will benefit you for sure. But I think you're going to see pit road extra busy here with a lot of people trying to do this one-stop strategy.
The Brown crew was out there cheering on the 42 of Joshua Stovall, and Stovall has made a pit stop this go around as they moved up to 17th position, basically back to where they were before, caught up in that contact and spin off the nose of Presley Sora. So now the 42 is going to be launching and ticking off for themselves as we keep our eyes out on our leaders. It's going to be the Snowy Desert Racing teammates of Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, 1-2 with a 17-second gap lead over Ryan Bird. Crawford and Norris. Will it be this lap? Will it be the next? As we are on lap 17 of 35, they race on as we are closing in to the end of this first half of the race, which has been spectacular to watch. We've lost one driver so far, technically two, as the Tyler Dangler's had a rough night for himself after starting in pit road this evening, and also seeing Brayton Lester call it a night as he'll move on over to strategist position as the top two enter pit road. Here we go. This is pit stop time. Will anyone else try to stretch it out further than our top two leaders?
That's going to be a great question. And I can tell you who was saving a lot, Vincent Sora. He ran a 2:14.857, and he goes around another time. So that tells me right there, the 15, the 13, they were both in major save mode throughout that run. And that is why you're seeing Vincent Sora. I mean, he literally turned his fastest lap of the race that last time by. So that was intense to see from that grouping, and we'll see what they can do on the next run, because they're not going to have to save as much fuel. They made it 18 laps if they can make it back around, and that will make it 17 to the end where they can run full bore.
Foley taking off. Trouble for another driver. That's going to be the 8 of Mark Morales Jr. Required damage. He was forced to pit road with a tow, and now going to be seeing our leaders, former leaders of Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris. They're going to be smack dab in the middle of a lot of drivers that have already pitted or going to be pitting this next time around. Nick Crawford is behind Trenton Jump. Jump was able to jump over Crawford and Vincent and also Christopher Norris.
What a interesting set of strategies here from these drivers. And I didn't think anybody would take it 18 on the first just due to how slow you had to go. And I think if you're Vincent Sawyer, you're Cedric Hunter, you're probably going to rethink a little bit of that strategy just due to the factor of how much pure time they lost. They're going to be about 17 to 18 seconds behind our leaders once it all cycles through. But I don't see how they're going to make up that gap. That's going to be the critical thing for them. Yes, they made it 18 laps, and it makes this last run a lot easier, but the time they gave up to Christopher Norris and Nick Crawford are going to be probably too insurmountable for them to try to run them down, as Crawford still stuck behind the likes of Trenton Jump and the 74. You know, probably even liking some of these moments. Sometimes running behind these people, you can get the draft down the straightaways, save a little bit of extra fuel.
As Trenton Jump, Nick Crawford, this should be the pass for what's going to become the lead once this pit cycle concludes. As Jump is trying his best. Now, once was the driver that was on the prowl, now going to be the driver just trying to defend as best as possible with the better tires and faster machine of Nick Crawford just looming behind, but both risking it all on the kink. I cannot believe Nick Crawford was testing the grass there with the 74.
He definitely tested it, Sam. That's to say the least. He's feeling confident, I guess, that he could make it through there. And right now trying to set up a pass, but you know it's going to be tough with Jump here, as now the leaders, Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, bring it into pit road for their one-stop strategy. Crawford losing critical time here to the likes of Christopher Norris behind, who's got to be loving all the scenes in front of him.
For Christopher Norris, again, it's one of those things where you have to settle down. Make sure you hit your marks. They're going to be slower than you ahead just because of the natural speed that Jump has behind, following ahead of Nick Crawford. But Crawford, side by side, down into turn number 1, and let the battles begin. Christopher Norris now has to figure out how to get by Trenton Jump, or will Jump try to go with the crossover move? He attempted it, but the tires just weren't there for that move. He'll have to settle behind down into turn number 3.
I think also if you're Trenton Jump here, you're saying, oh, he's going to have a big slide there off the turn 2 there. Now it's going to set Christopher Norris up for a possible opportunity and an easy pass. Christopher Norris loving those sights, because now he's going to get the clean, easy pass. Hopefully if he can clear those 46 before the braking zone and try to move himself towards his teammate of Nick Crawford up front, because remember, this time they went 17 laps the first run. We're going to have to go 18 this next time around. It's clearly doable. We've seen the likes of Cedric Hunter and Vincent Sora do it on the first run. We'll just have to see how well they can manage this out front with each other, because this is not only a game of managing how much you use the tires and how fast you are, but a game of managing how much fuel you have in that tank. So it is a tough situation when you're battling somebody to be managing fuel.
And for Vincent Sora and Cedric Hunter, we talk about how amazing they were running down our front contenders. The only problem was first and second, when the pit cycles began, were about 17 seconds ahead of third place. Jump had to pit 4 laps earlier to even be close to our top 2, and everyone else that pitted a lap later Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, they are 20 seconds or more behind our top 3 currently. That gap just seems way too large as we're on lap 19 of 35. Is there enough time for these drivers to run down one another, or is it just the duel of hope for the best as drivers are still battling all around here at Road America? As we are entering the second half of this race, we will step away for our first commercial break of the night. You won't miss a thing as we go side by side as Sora, Malik Kuntz, and Cody Reed get a little bit frisky through the carousel. But again, you won't miss a thing as we go side by side. You're watching the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. Tonight, race number 4 of the season as they're at Road America for the Classic Swiss 200. Again, we'll be right back right after this with more racing action as, contact, we continue on. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we went to our commercial break, we were able to get our ticker back. We got 14 laps to go here tonight at Road America for the Classic Swiss 200. I want to say thank you to everyone that's been in the chat, engaging with one another, rooting on your favorite drivers, and also just watching tonight's race. It's been a pleasure to give you the coverage of your ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series, race number 4 for season 7. As the road course has been tough for some, amazing for others, and we saw under that commercial break a trio of drivers that have been going back and forth, seeing the likes of Malik Kuntz, Presley Sora, and Cody Reed. We saw Cody right when we went to commercial break slam into the kink, into the wall at the kink, and he's unhappy, dealing with some wheel damage. Malik and Presley had their moments between one another, and at this time, it has been just a back and forth gruel between that group, and trying to join in the fray has been a lot of drivers in the middle of the field trying to survive, but up front, it has been all Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, and the rest of the group. They've been just trying to survive as Vincent Sora, John Forbes have been battling side by side at times. But Zach, looking at drivers entering tonight, we knew that there was going to be a lot of strategy calls, one-stop, two-stop strategies, and looks like the one-stop's been the preferred way to go for a majority of the field. Those that took two pit stop strategy in mind, this is when things get rough.
It definitely does get rough for those grouping. I mean, Whitley, he stayed out here considerably longer on this run. He pitted at 10. He's still out here on lap 22. So I'd imagine we'll see Mark Whitley hit pit road, if not this lap, maybe in the next 2, to kind of put that back into perspective for him. Trent Jump, I'm looking to somewhere around 26, maybe even, around 24. So we'll see when those come down. And as I say that, Mark Whitley does enter pit road, so not surprised to see that. But my thing is, Whitley now going to lose another 39 seconds. This is going to put him way back here in the field, and it's going to be tough to gain back all that time. Even though the tires are helpful for a little bit, we saw what traffic did. They really didn't gain too much time with the undercut. So you really just want to eliminate that pit stop. It seems like that one-stop strategy has been the way to go.
Fan favorite out there in the brown machine, UPS, it's Joshua Stovall, who's been on his own recovery run after being involved with the wreck earlier on, battling for 16th position. He's moved his way back up to 18th, and with some of these pit stops drivers are going for, might be able to get back into a run of that 16th position, or even a top 15 run at the pace that we're seeing this 42 go. So this race not completely over for some, and the different goals that some drivers have, they certainly are still on the line.
Goals are changing. It's definitely dynamic out there right now for a lot of folks out there. We actually got a battle heating up for the 4th position. Ryan Bird under threat from Vincent Sora, who has picked up the pace considerably this time. He dropped his fastest lap after coming out pit road, 2:13.46. That would put him about the 3rd or 4th fastest lap of the race. So the 15 clearly saved a ton of fuel in the first run. Now starting to show that true pace, because that 15 not going to have to save as much as these others, and he'll be setting his sights possibly on a possible podium, especially with Trenton Jump being out of here. This will set up to be the 3rd position at some point.
Yeah, and Trent Jump has been starting to fall off on his pace as he's had a couple of moments going off course. So 46 on top of his tire wear falling away, and pit stops calling for him before this race is over, and just naturally losing time to some other drivers that have just made their potential final stop of the evening. Ryan Bird, Vincent Sora, can Bird hold off the 15? It's going to be a long battle for 13 laps, and like was noted on, no saving really necessary for the 15. Now, other drivers that might think about just saving to maybe make all this cover run back is Cedric Hunter. Looking back at that 13 machine, he's running pretty similar lap times to our leader, but he did not have the cleanest entry lap or exit lap for the 13. He lost quite a bit of time, over 6 seconds to Vincent Sora, even though they were within a second when they initially made their stop. So a lot of lost time. Trenton Jump makes his go around, and that Ryan Bird and Vincent Sora battle now is for 3rd place.
Yeah, it was smart for Trenton Jump just to go ahead and get the pit stop done, because he just noticed time was being lost. Might as well go out there, get on fresher tires than the grouping around them. Try to run back to where you think you can. It's going to be a tough position, though, for him, because I think they're going to be looking to maybe get back into the top 7 with that strategy. That's going to be about the roads of where that will probably end up. But if you're our Cedric Hunter, you lose that ton of time. You got to find it now later in this race. So that's a tough break for him as this battle's continued on. Bird has been solid here, not allowing Vincent Sora to get the easy pass, but I think right here into this corner as it almost came to blows between these two. The 49 holds on for another corner.
No pushing, says Ryan Bird on that back bumper, and he was hoping not to get pushed wide. Luckily, able to keep it all together. Vincent Sora immediately after that go to the inside said sorry about that, and 49 and the 15 will continue on their racing against one another as it just seems like Bird getting on the brakes slightly sooner than what Sora would like, which is in some ways helping Sora's tires, but in others, I think for Sora, he just wants to go, but has no opportunity at this moment, and it's enabling John Force to get back into the mix here.
That it is. This is definitely enabling that 11 machine to get right back into the battle, of course. And if you're even Vincent Sora, you know, that first run, I'm guarantee you, he was doing a lot of lifting and coasting into the corner, and that can really change how you drive this truck when you come back out and you're starting to push the truck for the first time. He's starting to find probably new feelings that he hasn't felt yet on the racing surface. So even though he's got that 1 lap fresher tire, 1 lap less to save on fuel, he might, you know, push himself into a little bit of a tire wear issue. So it's easy to do that sometimes when you drive runs two completely different ways.
I've also been keeping my eye out on the track temp. I know we haven't really talked about the weather a lot here tonight. Last week, weather was all that we talked about. But I know, Zach, based off of practice, at the top of practice when they first opened the session, track temp was around 105, 106 Fahrenheit for the track temp. It has dropped off dramatically entering into tonight's race to where it's at a point that actually been getting faster and faster for the drivers because the track is cooling off. Currently, the track temp has gone all the way down to 83 degrees Fahrenheit as the air temperature has also dropped from being at 72 during practice down to 70.
That's exactly right, Sam. It's crazy to see, you know, the ambient temperature out there in the sky of 70 degrees, like you said, used to be 72, hasn't dropped that much, but the more we get later into the afternoon, the more the shadows start to creep onto the track, and that's where we start to see that air or that track temperature start to drastically change. And 83 is definitely much cooler than what we started this race and even started this session at. So it's allowing for a lot more grip, less tire wear too for these drivers, so the tires are falling off less, and it's definitely speeding up the times, which also will increase the fuel consumption when you speed up those laps. So it's definitely an interesting situation for these drivers to be put in. We'll see who can do the best saving the fuel. As I was sitting there watching the battle still for fourth, as Vincent Sora still having trouble with Ryan Bird. They've almost come to collision multiple times, and now we talked about John Forbes. He's there.
Well, I was curious about watching these battles going back and forth for this third place position is, you know, talk about that speed being faster. Is Vincent Sora kind of using Ryan Bird as a pace setter at this moment to make sure that he doesn't go over on the speed? Because like we know it on, you can drive so much faster now than what you were before. John Forbes, it's helped the 11 get back into this battle for fourth and third place, but with how close this group is, it's now put a position of you got to be careful not to make a mistake. Otherwise, it might not just be you, it could be you and two other drivers, or just you and one other that get collected a mess.
Exactly right, Sam, that's for sure. And John Forbes, I think, is liking what he's seeing in front of him. Is that battling has definitely brought him right back into the picture. And if this group gets to all three of them battling, they could possibly bring Cedric Hunter right back into it, who's about 6 seconds back in this group. So we'll see if that becomes some type of a situation there. But I also even look to, you know, these drivers are about 23 seconds behind our leader. I look back to Trenton Jump, Mark Whitley, 47 and 49 seconds respectively behind. So they're still sitting up about an upward of 25 seconds behind this group. So, or sorry, about 20 seconds, you know, behind that group. So it's really going to be quite a charge for Trenton Jump and Mark Whitley to try to get back to the top 5.
A lot of work, but there's still 10 laps to go, and with each lap being 4 miles, that means he's got 40 miles to try to run down and catch up to all these positions. For all those Joshua Stovall 42 fans out there, currently runs 16th, and based off his last lap, almost a second but faster than Dakota Moniz, and also pretty quick to Joshua Kanata. So Stovall, top 15 run, is still in the picture. You got to be careful because behind him is Ollie Fonseca, who also has been screaming quick here late as the battle for third. It is back hot and heavy. It is side by side for third place. Ryan Bird, Vincent Sora. They're going to be having a hard braking zone down into turn number 8, getting around the carousel, and John Force a little bit of contact. Wiggle, slide. The 11 has to get back in line. It's Bird trying to get right back on that back bumper. Vincent Sora
trying to get back there, Sam, but I don't know if he's going to be able to climb too close as Sora closes the door, has a little bit better of an exit as they head down to the kink. You got to make sure to have a good exit here if you're Vincent Sora, so you can try to get away from this grouping, because this corner is so critical for the braking zone down into Canada corner, and it looks like Sora will have enough here to hold on for the time being and try to drive himself somewhat closer to the leaders. He was at one point about 19 seconds behind Nick Crawford. After all this battling, 24 seconds back. So if you're Vincent Sora, you know right now it's all about holding on to third. Second and first are too far ahead.
It's untouchable at this current moment unless a mistake strikes for Nick Crawford and Christopher Norris, which Christopher Norris has really backed off on his pace. He's currently almost over 4 seconds back from Crawford. And those drivers, if we continue at the pace that they're going, could be having some major lap traffic issues with around 2 to 3 laps to go. As we look back at Vincent Sora's gearboxing, likes a Ryan Bird, where he might be trying to tackle for a chance to go for a pass just too far back. Sora's pace is starting to ratchet back up, and he's going to try to run down and catch up some lap traffic ahead of them, which is the battling going on for 26th position. It's Michael Miller all in his lonesome.
Definitely Vince Sora loving that clean air now that he's gotten over the 49 of Ryan Bird, so he can try to set his sails and go forward. And you know, I looked into the pace of Crawford and Christopher Norris. They are going to have to go 18 laps this time. You know, we look at Crawford here about 3.5 seconds ahead of his teammate of Christopher Norris, who is 20 seconds ahead of Vincent Sora. You know, they still have to do a considerable amount of fuel saving here. The lap times have been pretty quick, and I mean, we saw Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, they went the 18 laps on that first run, and really, they gave up a bunch of time doing it. My question again, you know, they had a pace lap involved with that, so that definitely didn't help their situation. But if you're Crawford as he slides to the kink there, you know, how tough is it going to be to make that 18 lap mark? We'll see if they can do it, because that could be the issue they run into. If you stumble on fuel coming down this straightaway, I don't know if you make it back up that hill to the start finish line.
I don't know either. As some of the other close battles that are happening on track, we had the battle for 19th position. Eric Crawley trying to hold back the likes of Logan Brakey, who's on much fresher tires on the 29 machine, as the Armadillo's driver Logan Brakey tries to set up the 01 of Kralik. Other good battles is back for 22nd position. Larry Yingling and Sam Garcia race back and forth, and for 25th between Eric Stamp and Michael Miller, as it looks like Stamp losing quite a bit of time as he's been struggling. The 99 has just been hitting his marks as all these different battles continue on. Less than 10 laps to go, 8 currently for tonight's race, and it's still all Nick Crawford. For everyone that's joining with us and you just missed all the action, it's been all Nick Crawford and Christopher Norris for most of this race. Your pole sitter Crawford trying to become the first ever pole sitter to win here at Road America. All past races, the past 2, back in season 3 and season 5, pole sitter would lead 16 laps, but then would lose out on the win. The driver that did win led 18 laps. Currently, Nick Crawford has led all 28 laps here tonight, and he continues to show why he is a threat for tonight's race.
That's for sure. Road America, it's got to be Nick Crawford's bread and butter. I mean, we know how good he is at all the other road courses. He's won multiple times here at ISRC at the road courses, but this track, something about Road America really seems to bring out a lot of qualities that Nick Crawford really suits well. And even his young teammate here, Christopher Norris, they both just seem so fantastic at keeping the tires underneath them, being consistent lap in and lap out. It's really been a pleasure to watch, and I'm sure a lot of the field are going to come out here tonight and say, man, those two are just kind of untouchable, so to say, when we came to this track.
We're hoping for some better racing from their teammates of Cody Reed, who got spun around after a simple mistake that sent him all the way back to 28th position. Reed is up to 13th. He's got a lot of work if he wants to crack into the top 10. John Force has been in his own battles between himself, Ryan Bird, and Vincent Sora. And talking about that battle for third, it is back to getting raging on. Ryan Bird is not giving up on this battle for this position. He is right back to that back bumper, and Vincent Sora has got a couple of slip-ups in the 49. Just been looking a lot more stable as they're catching up to lap traffic.
Doing a great job as Ryan Bird of putting the pressure on and keeping it there. And they've even dropped John Forbes about 2.5 seconds. So they've done a good job at just focusing forward and going forward. And you're Vincent Sora, you thought you got that pass done. Maybe this was going to be clear sailing as old Michael Miller ahead of these guys off track, and they're going to navigate past that 99 to put him a lap down to themselves. But Bird definitely done an excellent job. And I'm even wonder if Vince Sora's kind of caught out of guard here a little bit, because when you're saving fuel like that, it sometimes allows you to just be that much easier on the tires, just being very, very gentle to the truck. This time he came out really roaring, putting a hard pressure onto the truck, and that may have swapped the balance on him just a little bit. So it's always fun to see which drivers, change up their styles throughout the runs. It sometimes can catch you off guard, because that 15 definitely swatting flies off the exit.
Well, sometimes also there's the standpoint of some drivers are better at leading and other drivers are better at being followers. And sometimes when you're at a road course, you kind of need to see the faster drivers in front of you to recognize where the braking zones. Maybe you're missing a spot, you're braking a little bit too early one spot here, maybe a little bit late in another position. And when you're following a driver like Vincent Sora, Crawford, Norris, you get to learn those tendencies after they pass you. And right now Ryan Bird doing a great job staying attached, but we got a feeling with the way the tires are looking so far, he might have a better launch to take off as Eric Stamp stays low, gets out of the way as troubles for the 53 just continue to loom on as other drivers that are on the aggression push. Trent Jump, Mark Whitley, they're still trying to regain all the track time that they lost, and they're trying to catch up to the likes of Justin Campbell, Thomas Green, that are right on top of one another, battling for that 8th and 7th place position.
That they are, yeah. They're trying to run that down, but that's about a 9-second gap, and they have 7 laps to do it. Now, they were about a second, both of them quicker than the grouping ahead, but that's not going to be enough. They're going to continue to have a second quicker each and every lap, and I think you'll see diminishing results as the run goes on. And I think even you got to give a huge hand to this 9 after his first lap spin, coming down the carousel with the contact between him and Jared Talmadge. He's now battling with Thomas Green, who qualified 3rd. This 9, if he could have started up front, been in a good position, it could have been a very interesting situation for them.
It could have been really a different battle between themselves as we're continuing to watch this battle. Again, it's really hard when there's over 30 drivers racing against one another, but at Canada corner, sliding and overcorrecting Vincent Sora, costing time and position. Ryan Bird, who's up to 3rd over Sora as all the other battles continue to rage on.
Canada corner is such an awkward corner, especially with this setup. I actually got a few laps, like I was saying earlier, in this truck. And when you downshifted the first there, if you were not perfect with the timing, if you were a little bit early with it, you always slid the truck sideways just due to the truck wheel hopping through the center of the corner. So I think maybe Sora there, a little bit of an issue with that. That opened up the door. Ryan Bird took it back. So Vincent Sora, if he wanted a podium, he's going to have to fight hard to get it back because it's only 6 laps to go. Now, that is a ton of time here at Road America, but he has definitely been sliding around enough to now know that he has got to be perfect.
And if you've been sliding like we've been seeing Sora do for the past handful of laps, how do you reset, especially this late into a run, when you know there's only 6 laps left? You only have a couple of laps to try to reset and save tires. Is there any way to try to maybe cool off these tires, which with all 14 corners you're dealing with?
It is tough. Once you overheat them, it is very tough to bring them back. But if you start driving smart, start just backing everything up a little bit less, just trying to attack the corner a little more, the smoother you are, the more cooler the tires will start to get, and you'll start to see those advantages come back to you. And I think, even like you were saying earlier, Sam, some drivers are better at following, some drivers are better at leaving. I think this 15, when he's behind the 49, yes, he's getting the dirty air course. That does take downforce away from your truck, but sometimes just at a road course, having that benchmark in front of you to gauge how far you're going into the corner could be such a benefit. But I can tell you what, through the kink, Ryan Bird definitely a lot more confident, and Vincent Sora gaining a ton of time on him through there.
I think also maybe a little bit of overconfidence from Bird. Again, every slide just making it a little bit more terrified. of will you overcorrect when trying to counter steer to get your vehicle pointed in the right direction, or will you accidentally drift too far out into the grass? Small little adjustments you hope for, but this battle for third place continues to be on top of one another. Ryan Bird, Vincent Sora keeping it close. 5 laps to go as the gap for the lead. Nick Crawford almost 4 seconds ahead over Christopher Norris. A couple of other close battles continue to rage on. Still that Thomas Green and Justin Campbell battle within a half a second. Trenton Jump and Mark Whitley within a half a second of one another for 9th and 10th. Deeper in the field, it's going to be Samuel Garcia and Logan Breakey back at it between one another. And Malik Kuntz and Eric Kralik are within a second of one another. So there's a few battles mixed in between, but it's majorly the battles inside of our top 10 that are actually the closest between one another.
That it is. It seems like a lot of the drivers up front are definitely closer to each other, but this is probably the closest, one of the closest battles, if not. Here, right here, Whitley, who's been making up a ton of time on Trenton Jump here, who's really starting to struggle. And again, 7 seconds up the road to Justin Smith with, only 5 laps to go. They're not going to most likely make up that time. Whitley has the opportunity to at the pace he has, but he's still got to get by the likes of this 46 of Trenton Jump, who seems to be struggling as his tires start to fall away. I think Jump noticed when he came out pit road, he's going to have to gain a ton of time. And it's just not there. As you see Whitley open that corner up a ton, Jump have the bad drive off, but Whitley's going to have to wait here. Corvette corner, not a corner you want to go for, Tim.
Those things where Mark Whitley, he had the better entry and center, but where the 46 put that back bumper is nowhere to go. As Whitley, Jump, the battle continues on. This is the battle for 9th place currently on track. If you're a Joshua Stovall fan, he has just entered into pit road, as looks like did not have the distance on fuel and tires, had to make another stop here late. So went from a potential top 20 finish to maybe hoping for a top 25 finish. Hate to see that for a driver that had to recover all night long.
That's for sure. Definitely a tough one for Joshua there, who just couldn't seem to stay out of trouble there once that him and the 12 got into it there off of Canada Corner. And definitely been a long road back for him, and it's tough when your race has those issues, so to say. But we check back out to our leader, Nicholas Crawford, still about a 3.5 second gap to his teammate of Christopher Norris. Those two pretty much been matching pace, and they have about 21 seconds back to the nearest truck. So this is definitely looking very good for those two. They just got to make sure there's enough fuel in that tank to get back around. And if you're Crawford, you probably want enough tanks so you can do a burnout, but you don't really worry about that right now.
No, you don't want to worry about it, but you also have to figure out how to pace yourself with lap traffic ahead. There is a large group that you are catching up to that you will have to work with if you catch them too fast. That's going to be the drivers that are mixed in between from 20th all the way back to around 23rd with lap traffic cars mixed in between. There's some troubles that you got to be careful of, as well as Christopher Norris. He's had to get by Stovall, who unfortunately for the 42, as he was leaving his pit box after getting service done, black flag, he has to go back into pit road.
Oh, such a tough break for the 42 there, and that's gonna pretty much ruin his chances of trying to go too far forward. But it's one of those things where, it's easy to pop up and happen to you. But I tell you what, this guy right here we're watching on the screen, he just wants 4 clean laps. He just wants to get to the checker flag. Nick Crawford plagued by so many issues, so many times at this 4-mile road course, where he's been the dominant truck, so to say, each and every time we come here. It just hasn't been an opportunity to fulfill that destiny. I think tonight, getting his first win, that would be a huge jump start to his season, which has been kind of turbulent to start.
Yeah, I mean, it's been having its ups and downs. We all knew that the season 4 champ was going to find his footing at some point this season, especially off of a historic run last season with 6 wins under the 74 belt. And if you ever talked to Nick Crawford about those 6 wins, he would say that he kind of, at moments, felt like he kind of lucked into it based off of strategy. And strategy calls were always the thing where he would take a gamble, and sometimes caution would just line up perfectly with where he was running, and other drivers would have to pit and cost track position, and Crawford would take the victory at the end of the day. But here tonight, partly strategy, but partly just raw speed this 74 has shown that he was the dominant driver that we knew we were going to keep our eyes on here tonight to be the threat to win.
No doubt. And the thing for it, too, is, it's been an interesting race. It's not very straightforward where you have to just run out your pace, run your laps. He's been saving fuel this whole time, kind of just switching up his driving style. Same for him and Christopher Norris. And with Christopher, his teammate, only 4 seconds back, it's kept him honest. You can't, if you had a 20-second gap, you could save the fuel like it's nothing. You could get out here and just kind of cruise around, make sure you hit your marks, and just bring it back home. But having his teammate and Christopher Norris right there with him, those two have done an excellent job of just keeping each other strong all night. And it looks to be, with only 3 laps to go coming up the 2, that these two are going to try to pull off a 1-2 finish here at Road America.
Keep yourself honest if possible, as continue to watch the battling going back and forth here tonight. Nick Crawford, last time he won was at Charlotte last season. He wants to get back into victory lane here for the first time in season 7. Other great battles happening as these laps continue to dwindle away. Ryan Bird, Vincent Sora's able to get in front of the 49, but Ryan Bird is not giving up. Might make one mistake, but able to come back to the back bumper. And for Ryan Bird, maybe he's in the position of, I'll save my tires for these next 2 laps, and that last white flag, I'm going to burn up everything I've got underneath this thing.
I tell you what, this has been a great battle. I've been watching the delta between them two for so long. Then I seen him swap there for a second as he made the pass surprisingly into that Corvette corner, heading into the middle sector. But Bird taking a look there, he knows that Vincent has shown a little bit of weakness through Canada corner and making him think. But Vincent does a great job to get the drive off this time. When they come through these final 2 corners and head up the hill, it'll be 2 laps to go for these 2 drivers and a podium position on the line and an interview.
As they continue to race on, Ryan Bird, everything in his power for a 3rd place finish. Vincent Sora trying to get back into the fight for the regular season championship, as brother Presley Sora was leading entering tonight. Mark Whitley was 2nd. Larry Yingling was going to be tied for 2nd and 3rd, but Vincent Sora, you look at the points, he was tied for 6th in points. This was not the way that Sora thought this season was going to start. But for Nick Crawford, on the other hand, driver that is trying to grab his 4th career road course win, 11th career ISRC win here tonight. If he can cross that line with victory. And Zach, again, we know with the gap that's been built out, they can try to save fuel by just coasting it a lot of the majority of the time. But with having a 4-second gap over Christopher Norris, I mean, he's keeping Nick Crawford pretty honest here on these runs that they're having.
Oh, no doubt, for sure. Having to keep him honest for sure this is what it's all about. The gap that they've built over the field, they can feel no pressure from the rest of the field, but they feel pressure over each other of how they're going to save the fuel. So that's the fun part about all of this, especially with them both entering pit road with 18 laps to go. Right here, they're coming through the kink for the penultimate time. They just know when they get to that start-finish line, they need 4 miles of fuel. You could coast a few corners, you could do a few things, but you need to have that truck up to power, because you got to climb a giant hill on the front straightaway. And if you don't have that power in the truck to do it, you ain't making it back to the start-finish line. So that, I think, it's got to be the key in their mind. Yeah, you can hope to roll there, but that giant hill is a force to be reckoned with.
As Nick Crawford gets ready for the white flag to be thrown in front of the 74 is Larry Yingling, who just continues to see a night get worse and worse. But as for Nick Crawford, across the line, white flag is out. This race is official. The 74 has 4 miles to conquer and say that he is a winner in season 7. But Crawford still has 14 laps to cross over. Rest of the field, again, the battle for 3rd, not over yet. The battle also going on for 7th, not over yet. And it is going to be about 5 different battles to solidify positioning. But up front, as long as Crawford stays on track, gold is calling for him here at Road America.
He's hoping that he can finally pull it off here, Sam. He's fought so many times up to this point at this track, just hasn't had everything fall his way, and tonight it seemed to play that way. Just need the fuel in the tank, needs to hit his marks. The 74 Crawford has been perfect all night long, from qualifying to the race. Nobody has played it better than this 74, and a close fiddle in second is Christopher Norris.
Norris last season, for the last time they ran here back in season 5, he thought maybe he could win that race, but knew Nick Crawford was going to be the threat. Crawford then disconnected from that race, and Norris knew he had to go out there and win it for the team. But as they go around the carousel, just 4 more corners, the Kink and Canada corner, the last 2 big challenges of this racetrack. And the rest of the field knows this is calling for Nick Crawford. It has been since season 3, the first time that they ran at this track. This racetrack was calling for Nick Crawford to go to victory lane. One disconnection just took it away, but into Canada corner, 1 lap car looms ahead of Nick Crawford. It's Larry Yingling. Will he stay in line? It looks like the Red Machines will. Thunder Valley, just 2 more corners for Crawford here this evening, and just so many woes, so many chances. There's been 1 season that Crawford didn't find himself in victory lane. It was the cursed season 5 after you win a championship. But for season 7, it continues on into victory. Crawford wins here at the Classic Swift 200, and he will enjoy chasing his way with 3 attempts, and 3 times is a charm.
3rd time is a charm, like you said, Sam. Great job by him. Christopher Norris will bring home 2nd, but the battle for 3rd rages on. 15 of Vincent Sora, 49 of Ryan Bird out of the final corner, and Vincent's going to have the drive, and he's going to bring it home in 3rd.
Other great battles that are happening behind. Battle for 7th place is going on. Justin Campbell, Thomas Green, they're heading into the final corner. They also have a train of drivers behind. Gonna be Campbell trying to stay in front of the 18. Jump, trying to get the better launch off the exit of the corner. Trouble spinning out for Presley Sora, potentially further on back. But it's going to be Thomas Green staying low, holding back. Gonna be Campbell as drivers look to be potentially losing fuel and slowing down. I think Campbell ran out of fuel coming to the line.
Campbell did. He ran out of fuel. That allowed Trenton Jump to get back to 8th. Campbell drops back to 9th after making the pass for 7th. That is so heartbreaking for the 9. He pushed the fuel so close, and it just didn't get there for him. But man, oh man, what a wild race we had here tonight.
Battling back and forth for 11th place. Presley Sora spins out and also takes out Isaac Shelley, pushes Shelley all the way down to 13th position. Sora will hold off for 11th. As a couple of other battles that are still happening on course. This is going to be the battling for drivers for 15th place. Ollie Fonseca, Mason Cassidy, Dakota Moniz. Battle for 16th is now going to be Ollie Fonseca on the inside. Cassidy tries to hold strong on the outside groove. They're going to be having a drag race side by side up the hill, but Ollie Fonseca will keep that position and he'll hold strong. The last great battle that's happening on course is for 20th position. It's Garcia, Brakey. They're on top of one another going into the final corner. Brakey almost runs into the Garcia as they've got Talmadge, who's a lap down, putting all the pressure on them, and Brakey spins out. Garcia will hold strong for 20th.
Oh man, Garcia holding on for 20th, and Brakey finishing 21st. You got to be heartbroken for him because he was running about 7th or 8th before the first pit stops.
And as all the fun breaks down throughout the field, running out of fuel, just sitting at turn 5. As you see where the burnout circles were, it's Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, and Thomas Green just limping his way around. The fuel no longer there, but the joy of a victory is lingering as we will find ourselves stepping away. When we come back, we got ourselves a post-race show. We'll talk to Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, Vincent Sora, and a spotlight driver after this as we come back again for the post-race show. We'll be back in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the ISRC Lariat Productions Truck Series. Tonight, race number 4 is in the books, and we will have ourselves another different winner this season. It's going to be your Season 4 champion as we head into victory lane of Nick Crawford, also your stage winner. Nick, what a run for yourself here tonight. We talked to you before the race, talked about how the fact that you just wanted to get the stage win. Well, you survived, your iRacing survived, and you found yourself in victory lane for the 3rd attempt here at Road America. Man, how are you feeling after that performance here this evening?
I don't know, Sam. 3rd time's the charm. As usual with these wins, I'm pretty sweaty right now, even with this air conditioner. But I'm just so glad that everything held up. I think I know what the issue is. So if anybody has TeamViewer running in the background, turn it off during iRacing, because I turned that off. And the other thing is Danny Cochran is not here, so that might be it as well. No ill intents there, Danny, but you know, it's kind of weird. It happened twice. You were there, and then the one time it doesn't happen, he's not here. But honestly, that was a lot of work, just hitting every mark, and my arms hurt, my knee hurts, I'm old, and I'm just glad it's over.
Well, Nick, you got it done, man. I was glad to pick you and not give you bad juju this time. I definitely knew you had it in you. I talked to you before the event started, asked you if you were ready to win. You told me I was crazy. So, I mean, what came to you in that practice session, man, that you found all the speed and also found the ability to save the fuel, because clearly the one-stop strategy was the way to go?
Yeah, towards the end of practice, I honestly have to give a big thanks to Christopher Norris, my teammate. He put up a practice right before this, and we did about a 15 to 17 lap run, and that's where we got the strategy. It's kind of similar to last time we were here, but we felt that if we could make it to lap 17 coming to 18, then we would just have to run another 18 laps. And it was interesting because it seemed like the fuel wasn't saving as much on the second run, so we had to adapt our driving style there. But it was just the better strategy for the one stop. The two stoppers weren't going to get back. So as long as you were pretty far in front of them, but yeah, a lot of the end of the practice is just kind of running laps. That's really what got the experience and the speed.
I mean, Nick, getting this win as we head into a break next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks for Dover. How much does this kind of take the pressure off, knowing that we're going into kind of the rest of the season, heading into Dover, Michigan, Gateway, where we've seen speed from you, but we've also seen bad luck like we've seen here at Road America?
Yeah, a win, it definitely makes everything feel real nice. But again, it's on a road course, and I think we have one or two after this, one of them being in the playoffs, which is Sonoma, I believe. And I'm not really good there from my past experience. But yeah, good on the road course, but we got to get good on the ovals for it to really pan out. So it's a good confidence boost. I just got to be okay with not winning or not even finishing 5th. Sometimes you just got to give up a little and get it more in the long run. So again, good confidence boost. Great night for the team tonight, but really got to work on the oval stuff.
Well, Nick, congratulations on this win. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Always got to shout out my beautiful wife. She's amazing. She fed me really good today. I appreciate her and everything she does. I want to shout out my good friend, Robert Irvin. Check out his music if you haven't already, Robert Irvin Music. And then my teammates, they're awesome. We got a 1-2, and I think John finished pretty high up in the standings 5th. And poor Cody had a little issue, but he came back for 12th, so that's awesome. Really good team night. Shout out to the admins for putting on the race. I'm glad there was no fog this week. They made sure. And then shout out to you guys for putting on a good show. I love watching these back.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That will be Nick Crawford, his 4th career road course win, 11th ISRC career win, and his first win of Season 7. Congratulations, Nick, on this victory. Enjoy your break, and good luck. It's over in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys.
As we move along for victory lane, we go to second place to a driver that knows what it's like to win here and knows what it's like to finish second as well. We have we're going to be moving from Nick Crawford to Christopher Norris. Norris, you find yourself in second position, just within reaching distance at moments for that top spot. But man, how are you feeling coming away with second place here tonight?
I mean, Second place is good enough for me to finish only I think it was 3.2, 3 to 4 tenths back from the guy who should have dominated the last 2 Road America races is pretty insane to me because it was Nick and then 20 seconds back was, I know, Bud, Vincent, and John. They're having an insane battle. So I know they were battling. That slowed them down a little bit, but I still think Nick would have won by at least 15 seconds if Vincent got free. So it's still pretty insane to finish that close to a guy who was so dominant at this track.
Definitely a good feat for you, Christopher. I mean, take us through it. Your teammate Nick told us about how he had to change, kind of had to change how you were driving that final run to stretch it that 18 laps. We saw even a few others run out trying to stretch it 18 laps. So what was the decision there with the one stop? Because we saw the two stop just wasn't fast enough.
Yeah, I mean, to start it off, like earlier this week, I usually practice like 5 to 10 hours a week for a road course. I think I got 2 this week because I was super busy, and earlier today I was working, got a migraine, and with migraines come amazing things. So didn't feel too well. So only got an hour of practice today. Well, I got 2 hours with the session one, but an hour extra with Nick, and we actually spent that whole time doing a whole fuel run, trying to play it out. We knew what we could do. We knew how much we could save, and honestly, we were looking at 18 or 19 laps if it had a short pace lap. But the weird thing about this session, unfortunately, is that we had a long pace lap. So we had to do a little bit of extra saving. I don't know if you guys heard the charts, but my engine was probably off 80% of the time of that pace lap, just trying to save as much fuel. But that first one, definitely, we had a lot of speed in saving. I don't know what was different. I mean, shoot, you would think even with that pace lap, you would have less fuel that run, but I had about 6 tenths extra. Was saving a little bit, just doing what we were doing. And I thought, okay, well, Nick has been making a few mistakes here. I'm within like 2 seconds. I think maybe I can get those 2 other seconds at the end of this run. Well, like you mentioned, the fuel was different. I mean, I don't know if we forgot to put a little bit of fuel in my truck, if Nick paid off my crew chief, or if CSR paid off our team, but like it was a little bit weird. So a little bit of extra saving. That's why I fell back a little bit. Plus, I always seem to fall back on the second on the road courses. So I definitely think it's a little bit different, but hey, I'm just glad we made it 1-2. And honestly, I ran out probably seconds after the line. So I'm just glad I made it up the hill.
I mean, Chris, we've been seeing how you've been evolving, like we've noted on, I feel like every season, on your growth throughout each and every season we go into. You're in a pretty thick fight going for a chance for the regular season championship. I know our first quarter of that fight is now concluded as we enter into a break. What is going to be your mentality coming off of this break, heading into Dover in 2 weeks to try to carry this momentum that you've been having of solid finishes week in and week out?
I mean, honestly, I don't see myself as a regular season champion. That's the honest truth. I don't even see myself as a champion. I just see myself as hopefully a playoff contender. I don't like putting those high stakes on my mind, knowing that I should be able to do it. I'd just rather finish in a good position and go week in, week out with good finishes, like you mentioned. So I think I'm going to leave the regular season championship up to the drivers that definitely can do it, like Presley, Mark, Vincent, Nick, and John. And I'm just gonna hopefully finish second to them. But I mean, hey, that's enough for me. I'm just kind of hopefully to get myself in a good position, maybe get a win this season. I missed out on last one, but I got 3 before that. So hopefully we get one this season, get ourselves in a good position, and hopefully get ourselves locked into playoffs sooner rather than later. Dover is a tricky track for me, but hey, you never know what the monster can bring out.
You never know. Well, Christopher, good luck on that break that we head into. Enjoy it. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout outs.
Of course, my teammates, Nick Crawford, amazing, good job on the win. Cody Reed, a little bit silent tonight. I know he had a little bit of a mistake, but hey, he was able to come back for it. P12, still pretty good for being 29th on like lap 5. John Forbes, amazing job there. P5, always great for him. We didn't have Tyler tonight, so he was off somewhere else. My parents were watching. They always seem to like to watch the race, so I'm glad they enjoy that. You guys are putting on the show for them to watch. My fellow admins, Martin and Tyler, customlids.com. Get yourself an amazing hat. And I think that's it.
Well, that will be Christopher Norris coming away with a second place finish here tonight. Congratulations, Norris, on that finish, and good luck at Dover in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
So move from second place, we go down to third, which, I mean, this driver probably is what I heard from Nick Crawford, how sweaty he was feeling. He might be feeling just as sweaty because Vincent Sora, Ryan Bird, John Forbes gave us the best battle there late. Vinny, you're the one who comes to conquering for that third place position after that fantastic battle we just noted on. How are you feeling after a great performance coming away third?
I feel really good. That was one of the most fun battles I've ever had on here. We were just going back and forth, and whoever would get the position would make so many mistakes. I feel like Clean Air was like so much worse, or maybe it was just not following the truck ahead of you. But every time I'd get ahead of him, I'd make mistakes, and every time he would get ahead of me, he would make mistakes. So yeah, I didn't put in any practice before tonight. I didn't really have a lot of time to do any. So I came in kind of blind. I didn't know what I was doing. And I realized pretty quick that I wasn't going to be close for the win because Nick he's lights out on the road courses, and especially here. This is the first time I've got to do a race on Road America over in this league. But yeah, I knew he was going to be really fast, and I figured as long as I could just not make any major mistakes, I'd have a chance to get a top 3, and I did just that.
Yeah, definitely did that, Vince. You climbed your way through the field. We were watching at the beginning. We noticed you were able to go 18 laps there on that first run. So we know you were definitely in a major save mode there, especially with the pace lap there. So that had to be a ton of fuel save there. How, easy and hard was it to, kind of change the driving style once you had 17 to go where you could push a little bit more, not really have to worry about the fuel too much?
Yeah, well, I was actually kind of kicking myself after the first pit stop because I completely oversaved. Cedric and I did the same thing. If I would have saved like just a tiny bit more, I could have gone another lap because I was like 0.9 when I pit, and I still had like 1.2 in the tank at the end of the race. So I oversaved and cost myself a bunch of time. But yeah, making the switch to pushing the truck was totally different, and I feel like that's what made me make so many mistakes when I got ahead of Ryan, because I just tried to build the gap because I knew that he was probably going to have less fuel than me, and his tires were like a lap worse than mine. So yeah, making the change from fuel saving super hard to pushing was definitely a big factor, but thankfully I didn't bend the truck tonight.
You did not. You survived, came away third here this evening. Vinny, we've seen you perform so well in the Truck Series in the past. What are you hoping to take away from these first 4 races as we head into the off week to prepare for the rest of this regular season?
Just that I've had really good speed, and I'd say race winning speed. Homestead, I think obviously I showed that I had speed to win the race. Last week I had speed to win the race, but after the stage I just got pinballed by everybody, and we didn't get a long run to show what I had. Tonight it's a road course. I know if I put in the time, I can probably have race winning speed. And we've had a lot of variety here in the first few races. We've had a big track, a short track, and a road course. So I feel like we've kind of touched on all the bases, and I know that if I can just keep on carrying this momentum and the speed that I have, that I can hopefully get some race wins here.
We can't wait to see how well you're going to perform for the rest of the season here, Vinny. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any more shout-outs.
Yeah, just everybody in the league. We had a really good turnout tonight for the first road course of the season. Shout out to Nick for beating us again on one of these things, and shout out to Ryan for that really fun battle. Hopefully you guys captured a bunch of it, and I'll have to go back and look. But yeah, shout out to you guys for broadcasting, and I think that's about it.
Well, that'll be your third place finisher here tonight in the 15 machine of Vincent Sora. Vinny, congratulations on this finish. Enjoy it. Enjoy the off break that we're going into for this upcoming week, and good luck when we head back to Dover.
Thank you, boys. Have a good one.
You too. As we finish out our interviews, we weren't able to get our spotlight driver. We were hoping to get in touch with Justin Campbell, as he was a driver that was hoping to come away 8th, finished 9th, running out of fuel, and had a great run overall with the recovery, but was not able to come away with the best finish he was hoping for. But the driver that did come away with the glory here this evening, it's Nick Crawford. What a run for the 74. Dominant fashion as we take a look at our unofficial results here this evening. It's the 74 Nick Crawford coming away with the win. His teammate of Christopher Norris will come away 2nd from Snowy Desert Racing. Then we find Vincent Sora, Ryan Bird, 3rd, 4th, 5th is John Forbes. Thomas Green able to escape away with 7th. Great qualifying stats for himself in 3rd, but not able to keep that positioning. Talk about losing positioning. Trenton Jump coming away second as he went with the two-stop strategy call. Did not work out as Justin Campbell, he'll come away 9th for the 9, and Mark Whitley, another driver, went with the two-stop strategy, only able to come away with 10.
Definitely some, I think, going to be drivers thinking about that strategy calls here tonight. A good rebound, though, from Cody Reed back to 12th, 4 to the 25 after having some early woes. You know, Ali Fonseca don't bring on 16th after getting the EOL to start this race. Great job of him. Even Dakota Moniz in the top 15 for him tonight. You've seen some drivers like Malik Kuntz get caught up in a few things, running back in the 19th position, and others outside the top 21 there, or starting 21st. And Logan Breaky, I feel very unfortunate for him, was having such a good run. That two-stop strategy comes back to bite him. And Larry Yingling back in 22nd, he had an up and down 9. Of course, same for Joshua Stovall, many others. Jared Talmadge back in 27th. Many of these drivers all had their tough tumbles here tonight at Road America.
What a run we got to see here tonight. Nick Crawford finally able to face his demons and comes away with the win here at Road America, the 4th race of the season. But for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, tonight's only the start of the week. We got plenty of great action throughout the week, as tomorrow night, if you love super speedway racing, you're going to enjoy tomorrow as we get to see the Challenger Racing League head to Daytona for their 3rd race of the season, as they're following the NASCAR Cup Series schedule of whatever the race was the past Sunday. They race on Tuesday. Wednesday, though, you don't want to miss it. It's the end of the round of 16. Who's moving on to the round of 11? There's some drivers suspended. There's some drivers who would need a big points day, and it's all at the Lady in Black at Darlington. Don't want to miss it this upcoming Wednesday in the Next Gen. And if you want to see Next Gen Open Setup League racing, you can set up the setup any way you want. That is going to be on Thursday night with the Doghouse Cup Series, as they're heading to Nashville Super Speedway, as they get to see what the concrete's like for the Next Gen car. I got to say, Zach, last week was fun to watch some of the great racing action, but I am so excited for this week with the playoff cutoff race and Daytona and still the start of the Doghouse Cup Series. So much great action throughout the week here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Definitely got a lot of great racing going on. I know I'm nervous for Wednesday night at Darlington. That's going to be a very, very intense playoff cutoff race with so many drivers there on Wednesday night close to the cut line. I'm glad I'm not one of those drivers that's close. Just need to have a good, solid night for myself, and I'll come through scot-free. But I tell you, all the other 2 nights, of course, with the Next Gen car have been amazing too. And Thursday nights, we've seen it's been excellent so far. Seeing that first race with some new contenders right in the mix at Indianapolis, it's going to be fun to see who can come out swinging there once again. But great week ahead of us. I tell you, I can't wait to see it all.
Cannot wait for it. But again, like we noted on, no race for the ISRC Truck Series next Monday. They're going to be having an off week, as they're going to be actually having their Better Half Dash race. Still not sure who's going to be covering the broadcast for that event, but some of the drivers having siblings, they're having significant others. They'd have fun with street stocks at, I believe they're going to be at USA Speedway. So that's going to be a fun race for them. But if you want to see official ISRC Lariat Productions truck racing, it'll be in 2 weeks when we come back for race number 5 at Dover. But if you want to see other great coverage from us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, like we said, we got you covered Monday through Thursday. Our next broadcast will be tomorrow night at Daytona for the Challenger Racing League. But for us here this evening, thank you for joining with us. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall, Robert Moyer Jr., and everyone else here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us on your Monday evening. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe button, and the bell notification button to be notified when we go live. Otherwise, we will see you on our next broadcast tomorrow night. We see Next Gen cars, Daytona, Pack Racing. Don't want to miss it, as it will be the Challenger Racing League for our next Freaky Fast broadcast.